Good morning. Well, the nation braces for a Labour leadership battle that could result in Britain's sixth Prime Minister in 7 years.
The Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham pins his hopes of returning to the heart of Westminster on a by-election in Makerfield. And Angela Rayner says the National Executive Committee shouldn't stand in his way.
Andy Burnham should never have been blocked. It was a mistake that the leadership of our party should put right.
Well, if he wins, Burnham's allies says he would immediately trigger a leadership contest for the keys to number 10.
But if he loses it, it could be the end of his political career and risks Reform winning both the by-election and the Manchester mayoralty.
Well, Burnham is willing to risk it all to go head-to-head with Keir Starmer. But while Westminster plays politics, does that mean Britain will suffer?
Well, Burnham is not the only one on manoeuvres. Wes Streeting quits as Health Secretary but fails so far to launch his own leadership bid, leading to speculation that he simply didn't have the numbers, while others predict he's in secret cahoots with the Burnham-Rayner camp. Well, Kemi Badenoch wasn't afraid to take the fight to Streeting.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. The Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Another fresh one out there this morning. Through the day today, though, a bit more sunshine, not as many showers, and the winds will be a little bit lighter also. Join me later for a full forecast. We'll also have a peek at Saturday's weather.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, I hope you're ready to talk about politics today. Again, I know some of you are thinking, not another day of politics. This is going to go on, right? This is going to go on. I did think it was quite...
Potentially for months now.
Yeah, I did think it was quite interesting in the Mail. That little top line here, it just says, God help us all, day 2, which is a little bit what it feels like, because all of this is kicking off. The Prime Minister is clearly under an awful lot of pressure. Yeah, there is clearly going to be a leadership contest at some point, but nothing has actually been triggered yet.
But it does feel like it's underway, doesn't it? We were on resignation watch for Wes Streeting yesterday. It happened at 1 p.m. He resigned as Health Secretary. Didn't immediately trigger that leadership contest, though, did he? So what is that all about? Does that mean he doesn't have the numbers? But the letter also suggested perhaps there could be a deal to be done with Andy Burnham.
Possibly. He did sort of indicate that, you know, a competition needed to involve all the best talent. Which is that saying? Because if he pushed ahead now and got this all going before Andy Burnham could get involved, there'd be a lot of people after him. Yeah. It could be an unhappy crowning, as it were. So perhaps he's playing the long game here.
Perhaps he is. And also Angela Rayner cleared by HMRC, so she would be cleared to be in the running as well, wouldn't she? We're not sure whether she would be. And then we saw the Labour MP for Makerfield, Josh Simons. He stood down, didn't he, yesterday?
Which is interesting.
Triggering this by-election.
Yeah, he's only been in office since the last election. He was part of Labour Together, this big campaign group, and of course he's had to resign a junior ministerial position because of a scandal that was surrounding him over his behaviour. So a bit of a tainted character, you could say. Anyway, Mr Simons has announced that he will stand aside so that Andy Burnham can go for his seat and try to challenge Keir Starmer. There's a lot of hurdles to get through.
There certainly are, a lot of if, buts and maybes. But this comes as Wes Streeting resigns as Health Secretary. In his resignation letter to Keir Starmer, he said, "It is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election."
Well, this is all just a bit of a mess, isn't it? So we thought the best thing to do is try and talk through this in a sensible way with two opposing sides on this, and who better than the excellent husband and wife team of former Conservative Special Advisor Claire Pearsall and our very own senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Morning to you.
Morning. What a week we've had.
What a week. Can we start with you, Nigel, on this? Because, as we know, you are to the left of these things. So what's your take on where we actually stand right now?
The good news is probably somewhat calmed down. I think that we didn't know quite who was going to do what as the week was going on. Wes Streeting sort of solved that yesterday. So by quitting, he was able to kickstart the process that it will...
Sort of.
Well, it was able to actually get Andy Burnham to be able to stand for a seat. That was the first thing. It also allows him to campaign for Andy Burnham by quitting. Now, of course, before that, we expected him to also challenge the Prime Minister, which he didn't do. So he got half of it done by resigning, but not challenging. I think the purpose of that is they're looking for a coronation for Andy Burnham. So
Even Wes Streeting.
Even... Oh, what did you add? Even Wes Streeting. Look, he's 43. He knows that he's not popular with the Labour Party membership who will decide this election. So on the basis of that if Andy Burnham becomes the next Prime Minister, Wes Streeting can sometime down the road become Prime Minister himself. But the idea that he would become Prime Minister this time was very unlikely, even at a head-to-head with Keir Starmer. According to Labour List, which is the Bible of the Labour membership, Streeting would have lost by 53% to 23%. So Andy Burnham's got the best chance of doing it. The big question is, can Andy Burnham win the seat?
Can he win the seat, Claire?
And that's the problem, isn't it? Because when you look at the pollings for the seat, it's only a slim majority of 5,000. It's not looking particularly good after the local elections that we've just had, where Reform were actually the largest party in all of the wards in the local council elections. So if you were putting yourself forward for a seat, I wouldn't have chosen that one. I suspect that there were fewer candidates willing to give up their seat for Andy Burnham. So they have found Josh Simons, who is a new MP, who's only been elected in 2024.
But already tainted.
Already tainted, looking at journalists and digging into their backgrounds and doing some really quite underhand things. And I don't think he was particularly happy in Parliament, was the vibe that I got from him. But it's interesting that they can't even organise themselves to stage a coup properly. We've seen it all this week. All that we've had is a lot of speculation of people that were maybe going to resign, they were going to challenge, they weren't going to challenge, they weren't ready, they didn't want to be first. And you think, well, if you're serious about this, stand up and do it.
But regicide isn't in their DNA, is it? I mean, this has never happened before, Nigel, unseating a...
Not in this way, no. The Labour Party, unlike Claire's lot, the Labour Party are not very good about getting rid of their leaders. They haven't got the ruthlessness of the Tories. I mean, the idea they couldn't launch a coup, I mean, given how many coups the Conservatives had over the last few years, I mean, that's astonishing statement.
We go in there and we get it done. That's the whole point, that we're efficient. When somebody has outstayed their welcome, we get rid of them.
You're nearly as good as the Lib Dems as that.
We are always better than the Lib Dems at any point.
Well, including getting rid of leaders, I don't know. They are brutal when it comes to that. I mean, the interesting thing with all of this is it now seems everything is pivoting towards Andy Burnham.
Yes.
Right. So the chances of him actually getting through the NEC looks likely.
Yes.
It would be a nightmare.
They wouldn't dare stop him again.
OK. But so the chances of him actually winning that seat, where if you look at the polling at the minute, Reform are much more likely to take that seat, and Nigel Farage has already said we're going to throw everything at this.
Yeah, which in fact is a great irony, considering that Nigel Farage billed the local elections as the way to get rid of Keir Starmer. Now there's a vehicle to get rid of Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage will oppose it. I appreciate that he has actually... He is.
Because the chances are Keir Starmer will go anyway.
Yes, I think that's right. Yes.
Just not by Andy Burnham, who could be seen as a bigger threat to Nigel Farage.
Yes, I mean, I think he could well be. I mean, there will be a slight shift to the left, bear in mind.
How will that go down with the markets?
Well, there's then the question of your Chancellor. So that rather depends. Let's assume that Andy Burnham makes it and he becomes Prime Minister. There is a question mark over whether he keeps Rachel Reeves as Chancellor.
It'll be Wes Streeting, presumably, if Wes Streeting gets behind him.
There is a possibility that Wes Streeting will get one of the 5 top officers of state at the end of this process, yes.
It's an awful lot of deck chair shuffling, really, isn't it? Based on the premise of the public turning out.
That says the arch deck chair shuffler.
we do it in a far better way than you lot are looking to do it. But this is all dependent upon the public voting for Andy Burnham.
But this is where it gets to be a daft argument when you're arguing over who is best at causing chaos. Come on.
Do you think we're there for 14 years and this lot have come in and broken it?
I mean, that's the point with this, Nigel, actually. Look at the state we are in less than 2 years after getting elected on a landslide. Well, let's say a landslide, you know, the loveless landslide.
Yes, it was. And you're right, yes, I mean, this is causing chaos, and it does mean we've got a paralysed government until this process is over. I think that everybody would rather this hadn't happened, but given the local election results, bear in mind 60% of the country did vote. It wasn't a general election, but there was a big vote out there. On that basis, then, they had to do something. So this is something, and Andy Burnham was always the big question. By doing what he's doing, this answers the question either way. Either he gets in and becomes the next Prime Minister, or he doesn't, and then he's over for that ambition.
But with all of this, what begs the question is, if you want to calm the chaos, which is certainly what Keir Starmer says he wants to do. I mean, he says you calm the chaos by keeping me in and leaving me alone.
That's right.
Which isn't going to happen. But if he actually turned round and said, look, I'm setting a timetable. So forget all this. I'm going to fight the leadership. I'm setting a timetable. This is when I'll be out by September. Come what may, someone else will be in the job. Either Andy Burnham will get re-elected or he won't. That would calm things. That would give us a level of certainty.
But why would he? What would he?
Precisely.
Why would he? He was voted in. He has the majority. Yeah. He will say he has the mandate, and nobody has got the numbers.
And why would he do it now on the basis that he's waiting to see what happens too?
Because he says he wants to calm the chaos. He wants to, wants to look after the country before party and calm the markets and all the rest of it. Give him some level of certainty.
But if you know the Prime Minister is going, he becomes a lame duck, and so.
But you don't think that he's looking like a lame duck as it is, because he's now welcoming into
a slightly wounded duck, certainly, yes.
I think this is slightly more than a flesh wound, really, isn't it? So if you're talking about sort of paralysis, this is what we've got until all of this is sorted out. So even if he said, I'm going to calm the markets, I'm going to stay, this is my timetable until September, nothing's going to get through, nothing's going to be done. And in this instance, you've got Andy Burnham looking for a seat, so you've got to go through the by-election process. There was also the small matter of then there'll be a by-election for the Metro Mayor position that Andy Burnham will be vacating. So Labour then have to fight 2 battles at the same time in amongst the same people. So there's nothing is going to happen, no legislation is really going to get through, and this is the rest of the year pretty much taken up with Labour infighting.
And I've got to say, I know it's a bit by the by in a sense, but a by-election and a Greater Manchester Mayor election is going to cost how many millions of pounds?
A lot. I mean, it was one of the reasons why the National Executive said they were blocking Andy Burnham the first time round, because the cost of a by-election in Manchester, and also the fact that Reform could well win it. So that was the reason in the first place. In fact, that reason still stands, but we've now got to the stage where they just can't. There would be an absolute uproar in the Labour Party if they tried to block him again.
Yes, we understand that they are going to give him permission to stand this time, but it's being called Makerfield or Breakerfield, because if he loses the by-election and he doesn't, obviously Reform then take the mayoralty in Greater Manchester as well, that's the end of his political career, isn't it?
Pretty much, yes. So there's an awful lot riding on it for Andy Burnham, so he's pretty sure that he's up for the fight, and he really does want to take on a Reform-facing seat to try and prove that he could lead the country against
Does he, or is that the only one available?
Well, I think there's some truth in that matter, but I do think he is pretty much up for a fight. He's one of those who doesn't shy away from it, and I don't think there is any such thing as a safe Labour seat these days. Anyway, Makerfield used to be one of the safest seats in the country, and now it isn't. But he would be hard pushed to find one that would be safe.
Yeah. All right, you two. We'll talk to you a little bit later on. I mean, it's fascinating. There are so many questions and very few answers at the moment. So you've just got to go, you've got to follow through the assumption that Andy Burnham's going to get through and then have a go for number 10. It is a very big if, though, when you look at how reform is performing, particularly in the Northwest, after we saw what we saw in the local elections there, proper sort of red wall territory, that reform have just moved in on, absolutely moved in on.
His victory is not guaranteed, is it?
Not by a long shot.
Yeah, I don't know how the electorate would feel about being used as a chess piece in all of this.
Well, interestingly, they've been talking to someone yesterday who's up in that area, saying, that Andy Burnham is popular. I know a lot of people don't like him, and
he is popular in Greater Manchester.
But he is a popular mayor in general terms, but people will feel betrayed. So I was told, if he, giving up on his second term, when he promised to serve out the term, and here he is walking away because he thinks he can get into number 10, and that's not going to make him popular.
That's one of the reasons he was blocked in the first place by the NEC. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
Right, in other news this morning at 6:16, a college student has died and 2 people are being treated after cases of meningitis were confirmed in Reading. That's according to the Health Security Agency. It said close contacts of those affected were being offered antibiotics as a precaution. One of the cases is meningitis B, the same strand linked to an outbreak in Kent earlier this year.
Sussex police believe they've identified the 3 young women who died in the sea off Brighton on Wednesday morning following extensive inquiries. Their bodies were pulled from the water near Madeira Drive. The women were between 20 to 30 years old. Police said there was no evidence to suggest third-party involvement or criminality.
And the Green Party leader Zach Polanski has admitted he did not vote in last week's local elections. He says he fell short of time to update his address on the electoral register due to being in the middle of moving house and increased security concerns. Is he moving off the houseboat? Is he still on a houseboat?
I'm not sure. Something about a houseboat in Hackney.
There was a houseboat that he hadn't paid the right tax on.
So maybe he's no longer on the houseboat.
Maybe not.
Maybe he's on dry land. Anyway, should we get a check on the weather with Alex Deacon?
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A chilly feel, again, out there today. A fresh end to what's been a fairly cold week, but with a bit more sunshine, not as many showers and lighter winds. Overall, a slightly warmer feeling by this afternoon. But the breeze is still coming down from the north and still bringing plenty of showers over northern Scotland, a sprinkling for Northern Ireland. Some showers this morning for the Midlands and Wales, and they'll drift into southern counties of England perhaps this afternoon. So some showers, yes, but not as intense, not as many as the past couple of days. A bit more sunshine and lighter winds. So although temperatures are still a touch below average, it will feel perhaps a little warmer than the past couple of days. It will be quite cold, though, if you are heading out this evening, and still, particularly on the roads across the southeast, there could be quite a lot of spray and surface water from the scattering of showers here. Elsewhere, though, many places dry to end Friday. 1 or 2 showers feeding in off the Irish Sea into Cumbria, perhaps, and showers throughout the day into northern Scotland, fed in by that breeze. Still coming down from the north, still quite noticeable, but not as strong as recent days. Well, the winds are easing and the skies are clearing. It's going to turn quite cold quite quickly on Friday night, so bear that in mind if you're heading out. And something for gardeners to bear in mind as well, because as we go through the early hours, those temperatures are going to get pretty close to freezing. Towns and cities may hold up at 4 or 5 degrees above freezing, but certainly in rural spots, not far off zero to start the weekend. Frost likely across Scotland, northern England, but even further south, pockets of frost are possible through Wales and even southern England. Shouldn't be too frosty in Northern Ireland because more cloud will come in here. That'll make for a grey day tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain. Some of that will trickle into western Scotland, parts of Wales through the day. Ahead of it, the odd shower, but a good chunk of the Midlands, eastern and northern England, much of eastern Scotland staying dry and bright for most of the day. Temperature-wise, a little bit higher as well, just starting to tick up and signs of things getting a bit warmer as we go into next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, still to come, more on the battle for Downing Street. We're going to be talking about this for quite some time, so strap yourselves in. We've got more in a moment.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, 6:23, and we're talking to Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson. Can we take a slightly different look at this? Because obviously Wes Streeting has gone now, replaced by James Murray.
Yes.
Which I'm slightly surprised at. I mean, look, I'm sure he's a very nice man.
He is.
Right, well, yeah, absolutely. But he's not what you'd call a sort of strong performer or a strong character in political terms. And this seems a big brief. I'm surprised. I've got to be honest, I'm surprised.
Bear in mind that there's a bit of a panic going on in Downing Street, so there's a limit to which candidates you can get in. There's a huge new intake, but they haven't got experience. So you're looking for people who actually do have ministerial experience. Wes Streeting was still the best person to be Health Secretary. There's no doubt about that. And it may well be he will be Health Secretary again if he doesn't get a bigger job.
Junior ministers under him, any health ministers that would have...
Well, he lost one because one resigned. So yes, there are some others, but I mean, you really need somebody of cabinet rank, and James Murray was, because he was former Treasury Secretary.
And he was out on the media round yesterday defending the Prime Minister.
And that's the problem. That's what he's seen as. So he is the person to go out on the media round to go and say the Prime Minister's doing a very good job and we should all leave him alone and not be nasty. He's not... I don't know. There's no oomph about him. He is the Treasury man of number 10, and he's now being put into health.
Type.
Absolutely. And when you look at the health brief, it is enormous, and the challenges are huge. An awful lot going on. That people are having meetings cancelled, especially women's health strategies. I know, speaking to a couple of Labour MPs who are really fed up. They say there's nothing been happening, and now you've got someone in who doesn't know their brief. It's going to take a few weeks to get on top of it. And there'll be new ministers probably being shuffled round as well.
And on a practical note, there are women up and down the country now thinking, well, what does this mean for the changes that were promised by Wes Streeting?
And that's
that all up in the
concern.
air?
And yes, it is up in the air. And when you speak to a couple of the Labour MPs who are women who are very, very concerned, representing those people who suffer with endometriosis, people who have suffered with sodium valproate, birth issues... They're not going to be addressed, and this is something they've all been fighting for at least the last 18 months, if not more, further into the Conservative years.
I mean, what strikes me with it, and again, and I want to be absolutely clear, this isn't a sort of a personal attack on the man, because that's not fair. You say he's a perfectly nice man, and there's no reason to doubt that whatsoever. But this now begins to look, perhaps even more so than before, like a sort of weak, botched together cabinet.
It is. I mean, I'm afraid it is because, as I said, there aren't that many choices out there that Keir Starmer could have gone for. At the moment, you can imagine what the febrile atmosphere is like in Number 10 this morning. They've got to try and keep the government on track, knowing that they may not be the government for very much longer. So we are in that sort of period where it's, if you like, to use a medical analogy, he's a sticking plaster on the health service.
You said he might not be the government for very much longer.
Well, I mean...
are you thinking we've got a general election?
No, I don't mean that. No, I mean that as Claire just said, assuming we have a new Prime Minister, there will be...
It's a new government.
There'll be a new government, and there will be a reshuffle of ministers.
Yeah, OK.
All right, you two, stay where you are. In the meantime, we're going to talk to columnist Esther Kraku, who joins us on the programme now. Morning to you, Esther. And it looks as though Andy Burnham has launched his bid for Number 10. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, I mean, opinions are quite split on this because it seems quite self-serving. This is a man who's been out of Westminster for about a decade because he wanted to be Mayor of Manchester. And now he's basically playing political football with constituencies that have individuals in them that are thinking, actually, aren't you supposed to be representing our interests instead of trying to bet on the fact that you can, kick out someone or get someone to resign and then hopefully get their seats to get to work your way back into Westminster. Obviously, he's very popular in the Labour Party. I really don't understand the King of the North idea because I don't think Manchester is a shining beacon. I don't really see his record as something that the other cities in the UK should look up to. But within Labour circles, he is quite popular. And this is his huge, big bid now to oust Keir Starmer. I actually think there have been a lot of machinations in the background amongst Keir Starmer's teams that hasn't been recognised over the last few weeks. They knew that the May 7th local council elections was going to be a bloodbath. Keir Starmer's unpopularity has been a matter of fact now for basically the last 18 months. It's basically baked into the cake. Anyone who didn't see it coming has not been paying attention. So there have been quite advanced conversations about what happens when the exact scenario we're seeing play out actually happens, where you have individual senior cabinet ministers mounting a leadership campaign against Keir Starmer. There have been talks about what would happen, and you're seeing that play out basically. Keir Starmer is saying put up or shut up, because if I go, I will drop a nuclear bomb on the Labour Party, which is either call a general election, or the party will be in such disarray that the country will just get sick of them. And the kind of fallout from that would be worse than even anything the Conservatives have seen. And they saw a complete wipeout, basically, after 14 years of failed governance. So this is not unexpected, but I don't think it's going to be successful. This would be his third run. Andy Burnham, I think if he was supposed to be leader of the Labour Party, it would have happened by now. And I just think it adds more to the chaos that Labour seems to be inflicting upon the country. I mean, Keir Starmer is trying to steady the ship as best as he can, even though he doesn't have much political stock there. And you have these people that seem to selfishly be chasing their own ambitions.
Yeah, well, yes. And in a way, Esther, you're quite right in saying it's people chasing their own ambitions, but that's politics, and that has always been politics. I mean, that's just the way it works. But in terms of Andy Burnham, I mean, his big argument, and he has created a lot of actual change in Manchester. I mean, things like, particularly when it comes to transport, there's been big investment in local rail. There's been huge investment and taking back into public control all the local bus services and things. So he's saying, I've done some actual physical things, some strategic things within Greater Manchester, and now it is time to expand these actual changes to the country. So he's saying, I have achieved something here, and now I'm a man who can achieve it on a national level. Well, that's more than anyone else can offer at the moment.
Yes, but people will be asking why now. Clearly, obviously, because Keir Starmer is unpopular, but he has been unpopular for the last 18 months. I don't think these local elections are enough reason to put the country through more instability. And I'm not saying this as someone who's endorsing Andy Burnham, but this by-election that he's hoping to win is rumoured to cost his constituency about £4 million. That is quite selfish. And it's not a case where Keir Starmer is clearly willing to go. You're going to put a country through basically the theatre of a political battle to make the argument that you can get a better bus network for the rest of Britain. I mean, I don't really see that as standing up to scrutiny. I think there is a solid case that obviously Keir Starmer is not going to lead the Labour Party into the next general election. I don't really see a benefit for the country to put it through a leadership election or contest or sort of battle of wills at the moment. It will happen within the next 2 to 3 years. Why can't you just wait? I mean, it's not like there's going to be some sort of radical change or the Labour Party is suddenly going to morph into the Green Party or Reform or the Conservative Party. The manifesto is pretty much set in stone, unless he's proposing something completely different, which, again, he would have to go to the country and do that. You have to have the mandate of the British people to do something completely
But it's an acknowledgement, isn't it, that, which a lot of people in the country feel, whether they're worse off in their pockets or whatever it might be, just saying the country is not heading in the right direction and we don't want to wait another 3 years for things to change. But we're not going to get a general election. That's pretty clear. But their argument would be, well, we can take the party in a different direction. We can fill the vacuum.
Well, the thing is, they would only have 3 years to do it. And I think, even though that is a sufficient amount of time, I think the kind of infrastructure that you would need to do a complete 180, basically, if that is the suggestion, I don't think he'll be able to get it done. I think there's actually more risk of doing more harm than good, putting the country through a leadership contest right now, unless it was a general election, which is different. That is a completely different direction that you want to take the country, and you have to have the mandate of the British people. But at the moment, he just thinks that with his charisma and his track record, he is better off to do what basically Keir Starmer is currently trying to do. And I don't think that's a good enough argument to cost the country more money in this leadership election and a by-election and all the kind of chaos that comes with trying to change leadership.
But Esther, from the Labour Party's perspective, is he the only man who can take the fight to reform? He's popular in Greater Manchester. He's deemed to have done a good job there. He's the most popular Labour figure in the country, according to polls. And Wes Streeting's resignation letter, if we touch on that for a moment, said that this needs to be the best possible field of candidates. Reading into that, this could be a coronation, couldn't it be, if he wins in Makerfield?
Well, I think that's a testament to how much talent the Labour Party is lacking at the moment. If Andy Burnham is the best of what really seems like a bad bunch. I think this idea of betting on Manchester as some sort of sure win for the Labour Party is quite strange. I mean, the local elections clearly showed that Reform have really mounted a significant challenge, particularly in Manchester. And this idea that there's some sort of going to be a renaissance of love for the Labour Party in that part of the country is quite bizarre. There's no evidence to suggest that. Yes, he is the most popular Labour potential leader at the moment, but Labour in and of itself is not popular with the country at the moment. So he's the most popular of a very unpopular bunch of people. And again, I don't think a lot of people have time to hear this argument when the country's in the state that it's in. I think at the moment, the best of, unfortunately, the situation that can be made here is that Keir Starmer just trots along. It's clear to everyone that he doesn't have much political capital, but you don't really necessarily need that to get things done on a day-to-day basis in Westminster.
OK, Esther, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I just want to reflect back with Claire and Nigel. And just with that, this is where I wonder if, I mean, Esther was saying a lot about playing politics, right? And the cost of running all of this and by-elections and mayoral elections and all the rest of it, which does hit the public purse. But it's people like you, Claire, who've been critical of government and critical of Keir Starmer, a number of whom are now saying, well, actually, we should stick with Keir Starmer. How selfish of people to want to run a leadership election. You can't have it both ways, can you?
No, absolutely. I agree on that front. And the last thing we need is more instability in the country. And I think that's what the public want. But you have a Prime Minister who is achieving absolutely nothing because of the U-turns that he keeps having to make. And if he had any good sort of moral stance, he would have gone himself without the need for any of this. And I strongly believe that Prime Ministers should look at the effect that it is having on the country and actually stand down if they need to.
But if he stands down and there's a lurch to the left, is that better for the country? Is that better for the markets?
Well, I mean, stability is better for the country. And where we are at the moment is a period of being unstable. And I think that Esther made the point about a general election. I mean, that if you were taking away Labour's ideological opposition to reform and just looking at reform at the moment, they're really not ready. The idea that reform could take over the country is just not a goer. They would need, as any political party, new political party would need, is time to actually get their policies to be workable and effective, and they're not in that stage at the moment.
OK, you two, don't move, because we're coming back to you a lot today. Let's just have a short break away from politics and tempt you, should we, with £76,543 and 21p in tax-free cash, which could be yours if you win our latest Great British giveaway. Here are the details.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543 and 21 pence is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, if you were travelling to work or school this morning, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A84 at Callander is closed due to a collision. A vehicle fire on the M25 westbound at junction 29 near Leeds has closed entry slip roads, with normal conditions expected after 6:25 a.m. The M56 westbound between junctions 6 and 8 in Manchester has flooding, closing one lane. Avoid the M54 eastbound entry at junction 3 in Shropshire. All lanes shut due to an accident and made clear after 8:55 a.m. And on the trains, there's disruption to and from London Liverpool Street via Hackney Downs, affecting Greater Anglia and London Overground services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:42. We're joined now by political commentator Matthew Stadlen. Very good morning to you, Matthew. What do you make of Burnham launching this bid for number 10? Do you think he could win in Makerfield?
I'm appalled by it, Ellie. I think this has been a shambles this week. This is a Labour Party that I voted for in the last election. It's a Labour government that I want to succeed. It's a Labour government that I want to keep Nigel Farage out of number 10. And in a week when we've discovered we had the best growth in the G7, as far as I can see, in the first quarter of this year, in the week when parliamentary authorities say they're going to investigate Nigel Farage and that 5 million quid gift. I mean, who gets given 5 million quid, for goodness sake, for campaigning for Brexit? I mean, it's made a lot of other people poorer, and he gets 5 million quid, apparently. And in the week when Zach Polanski's tax affairs make headlines, Labour decides to enter a civil war. And not just a civil war, but the way they go about it is just embarrassing. I mean, it's amateur by some of these MPs. I'm not talking about all MPs, but what on earth is going on, Ellie? I just simply don't get it. Everyone now in this world has a digital footprint. There's a tweet that has resurfaced from 2022 during the Tory election. And Andy Burnham said we're going to have a general election after this. I mean, what does these people, these rebels, think is going to happen if they replace Keir Starmer in number 10? There are going to be feverish calls for a general election. The very same people who have been trying to kick out Keir Starmer, political enemies of Labour, are going to say there's no mandate because Labour members have chosen the Prime Minister. Now,
that's all fair enough, Matthew, and there will be those. You're quite right. There will be those calls, but we've had it all before. It never happens, and obviously. Labour MPs are not going to vote for a general election. It's never going to get through.
Stephen, look, I'm old enough to remember, as you are, sadly, 2007 when Gordon Brown took over from Tony Blair, and there was thought they would go to the people because he hadn't been leader when there'd been a general election. And then George Osborne started talking about inheritance tax, and Gordon Brown was seen to have chickened out.
Yeah, Buffalo Brown.
And the narrative was then set, because if you run away from British voters, guess what? They don't like it. So when these feverish calls, which are totally predictable, come if there is a change of Prime Minister, and if the Prime Minister then, as you say, doesn't go for it and they bottle it, the narrative is then set. And please, can you tell me, look, if Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister, I wish him success. I want him. I would want him to do well. I want him to keep Nigel Farage out of number 10. But what's he done in Manchester? He's capped bus fares at £2 and taken them into public ownership. Is that seriously some sort of recipe for turning around the fortunes of this country and improving things where Keir Starmer is seen not to have done well enough? I don't think Keir Starmer's been a brilliant Prime Minister. I think he's been underwhelming. He was leader of the Labour Party, Stephen, when they got a 174-seat majority.
Yeah, but I love listening. But the problem...
Now we think some chap who's been running Manchester, where Manchester did badly in the local elections for Labour, we think he's now somehow the king across the water is going to come and save Labour and save the country. This is political naivety of the highest order.
Well, except Matthew, give me a minute. The problem you've got is you're effectively saying if all this happens, it looks really bad for the Labour Party and it damages your chance of re-election at the next general election. That's effectively what you're saying. But what are your chances of re-election if Keir Starmer continues to limp on for the next 3 years? You only have to look at the local election results. The people aren't liking where he's taking the country.
Is it my chances of re-election? I have no intention of running for election whatsoever. What I want is what's best for the country, and I have a perfectly sensible plan as far as I see it, and it's been what I've been thinking for a while now. And I accept I didn't think Starmer was going to go anywhere after these May elections, and he still may not. My idea was you let Starmer do what he was elected to do, try to change the country, turn things round, because he has been unpopular. And I think to some extent that's been unfair, but to some extent it's also been reasonable. We've seen this growth in the first quarter of this year. There have been some good stuff this government's done. They're hopeless storytellers. And then if in 2 years' time, Stephen and Ellie, he doesn't turn things round, and people don't feel better off, or they don't think that the country is a better place than it was under the Tories, then, OK, fine, you have a leadership election. And guess what, Stephen? At that point, you've had 4 years of government. At that point, you're heading towards a general election anyway. And then that leader, with any luck, has a bit of a honeymoon. And you have some momentum going into the next general election. Some of these MPs, as I said,
we have got to leave it there, Matthew. I'm really sorry. You make some really valid points, but we've got to leave it there. We're out of time.
Thanks, Matthew Stadlen.
All right. Before we have a bit more detail in this with Claire and Nigel, here's the European forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for most of Portugal this weekend. Same goes for Sicily and Sardinia. A few showers likely in Croatia. Showers can't be completely ruled out in Madeira as well, with a fairly brisk and cool wind blowing here. Plenty of sunshine though around the Spanish costas. Sunny spells too for the Balearics, as I said, Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy showers though in Croatia. They should be moving away though, so Dubrovnik looking sunnier on Sunday, and signs of things warming up a touch in Rome as we head into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Colin, it's always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And of course, you're wearing your full Chelsea pensioner regalia. It's a resplendent sight. Colin Thackeray. 2/3 of young people don't even know what VE Day is. You know what it is. You lived through it. Tell us, tell the nation how important it is and your memories of that beautiful day.
Well, extremely important to remember and to continue to remember. It means obviously victory in Europe. And it was a great day because everybody was happy and, you know, we all lived through 5 years of war, and it was a smashing time. And I'd rather hope that people will continue to do so.
Do you think the problem now, Colin, is we've got a younger generation who are taught badly, and they're taught often to be ashamed of British history? We talk about slavery, the evils of empire, yet we don't celebrate the genuine heroism of VE Day and people like yourself.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, 2 years ago we were in Korea. We went across for a revisit, and I hadn't seen the place for 70 years, and it was extraordinary. The place the school was built up, and the people were marvellous. And every child knows exactly when the war was there, what we were there for, and we were told. I was told by a 9-year-old, it never occurred to me that, look, if you didn't come, we would be living the same as North Korea. That's a shame, isn't it?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Right, 6:52. We've just got a very brief time to look at see what Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson are making of where we are so far this morning, Claire.
Well, I think the country is probably as divided as the Labour Party at the moment. A lot of people are going to be frantically looking up what it is Andy Burnham stands for, because I think that's another important aspect of this. Yes, he's done well in Manchester as a Metro Mayor. What is it that he stands for? What is it that he wants to see the party do? Because at the moment we've got absolutely no idea.
Manchesterism. He sort of brought out an alternative manifesto at one point, didn't he? It seemed very lefty, very lefty.
Well, he would like to tax wealth rather than work, so there could be a wealth tax on the horizon. I mean, his basic mantra is to unify the popular left against a divisive populist right, which is what he says he would do. He wouldn't have made some of the early mistakes. So, for instance, he was against withdrawing pensioners' winter fuel allowance. So he wouldn't have done things like that. So there would be, if you're thinking in terms of left and right, and probably we shouldn't, that he is to the left of Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
What did you make of the assessment of Wes Streeting yesterday in that resignation letter, also saying that winter fuel cut was a mistake, Islands of Stranger speech was a mistake?
That was an interesting.
It's a vacuum, a lack of vision. Was he on the money?
He probably was. I thought it was actually a really sort of vicious letter that he sent. And in fact, the Prime Minister sent back a much calmer, nicer letter and said they hoped they would work together again, which is unlikely. He'd missed him around the table. Yeah, indeed, yeah. I thought it was odd, but he had to lay out his stall to get the next stage of this process going.
Do you think Kemi Badenoch's rubbing her hands with glee or not at this stage?
I think we're always up for a bit of a fight, and I think Kemi just needs to concentrate on getting Conservative policies in order because of all the chaos that's going on over there. We need to look like the alternative to the Labour chaos, and I think actually her speech was very good. The King's speech, the reaction that she did was very good, pointed out a lot of mistakes that Labour are making. So I think she's the right person for it.
Okay. All right, you too.
Thank you very much, Claire and Nigel. We'll see you in 45 minutes' time. For now, though, here's your weather with Alex Deacon.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A chilly feel, again, out there today. A fresh end to what's been a fairly cold week, but with a bit more sunshine, not as many showers and lighter winds. Overall, a slightly warmer feeling by this afternoon. But the breeze is still coming down from the north and still bringing plenty of showers over northern Scotland, a sprinkling for Northern Ireland. Some showers this morning for the Midlands and Wales, and they'll drift into southern counties of England perhaps this afternoon. So some showers, yes, but not as intense, not as many as the past couple of days. A bit more sunshine and lighter winds. So although temperatures are still a touch below average, it will feel perhaps a little warmer than the past couple of days. It will be quite cold, though, if you are heading out this evening, and still, particularly on the roads across the southeast, there could be quite a lot of spray and surface water from the scattering of showers here. Elsewhere, though, many places dry to end Friday. 1 or 2 showers feeding in off the Irish Sea into Cumbria, perhaps, and showers throughout the day into northern Scotland, fed in by that breeze. Still coming down from the north, still quite noticeable, but not as strong as recent days. Well, the winds are easing and the skies are clearing. It's going to turn quite cold quite quickly on Friday night, so bear that in mind if you're heading out. And something for gardeners to bear in mind as well, because as we go through the early hours, those temperatures are going to get pretty close to freezing. Towns and cities may hold up at 4 or 5 degrees above freezing, but certainly in rural spots, not far off zero to start the weekend. Frost likely across Scotland, northern England, but even further south, pockets of frost are possible through Wales and even southern England. Shouldn't be too frosty in Northern Ireland because more cloud will come in here. That'll make for a grey day tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain. Some of that will trickle into western Scotland, parts of Wales through the day. Ahead of it, the odd shower, but a good chunk of the Midlands, eastern and northern England, much of eastern Scotland staying dry and bright for most of the day. Temperature-wise, a little bit higher as well, just starting to tick up, and signs of things getting a bit warmer as we go into next week.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A84 at Callander is closed due to a collision. In Leeds, the M26 westbound at junction 29 has lane closures after a vehicle fire, with 30-minute delays expected. The M56 westbound near Manchester has 1 lane closed due to flooding, causing congestion. Further east, the M54 eastbound entry slip at junction 3 in Shropshire is closed after a collision, with traffic clearing later this morning. And on the trains, there is disruption on the London Overground between Highbury and Islington, and Dalston Junction, plus delays on southern services through Selhurst. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
you want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power, Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Well, the nation is bracing for a potential leadership battle that could result in Britain's 6th Prime Minister in just 7 years.
Yes, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham pins his hopes of returning to the heart of Westminster on a by-election in Makerfield. And Angela Rayner says the National Executive Committee shouldn't stand in his way.
Andy Burnham should never have been blocked. It was a mistake that the leadership of our party should put right.
Well, if he wins, and it's a big if, Burnham's allies say he would immediately trigger a leadership contest for the keys to number 10.
But if he loses it, it could be the end of his political career and risks Reform winning both the by-election and the Manchester mayoralty.
Well, Burnham is willing to risk it all to go head-to-head with Sir Keir Starmer. But while Westminster plays politics, do we suffer?
Well, Burnham's not the only one on manoeuvres. Wes Streeting quits as Health Secretary, but so far has failed to launch his own leadership bid, leading speculation he may not have even had the numbers, while others predict he's in secret cahoots with the Burnham-Rayner camp. Kemi Badenoch wasn't afraid to take the fight to Wes Streeting.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. The Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Another fresh one out there this morning. Through the day today, though, a bit more sunshine, not as many showers, and the winds will be a little bit lighter also. Join me later for a full forecast. We'll also have a peek at Saturday's weather.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Well, so it begins.
Well, sort of.
But a lot has happened since the breakfast programme yesterday.
An awful lot has happened. But during the show yesterday, we had Angela Rayner being cleared by HMRC, which means she's sort of clear to run for the leadership if she wanted to.
Then Wes Streeting stood down at 1 p.m, didn't he? Resigned as Health Secretary, but didn't go as far as to launch his leadership bid.
Which
yet
is interesting. And then, of course, last night we had Josh Simons, the Labour MP for Makerfield, announcing that he was standing down. So, by-election. Andy Burnham saying he's going to stand in that by-election, and also making it clear that should he win, and it's not going to be easy, actually, because Reform is polling very well in that particular seat at the moment, then he would then challenge number 10.
Well, of course, this all comes after the resignation of Wes Streeting. In his resignation letter as Health Secretary to Sir Keir Starmer, he said it is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election.
So how will the Prime Minister tackle his colleagues clawing for the keys of number 10? What will today hold for Westminster? Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, anything could happen. That's been clear from this week, hasn't it? Let's speak to GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, who joins us from Downing Street. Morning to you, Tom. Can we start with Andy Burnham, who is obviously hoping that he will get the keys to number 10, but his path to power is far from smooth?
That's right, Ellie. There are practically 7 hurdles that Andy Burnham has to clear in order to return to those green benches and then potentially to the building behind me. First of all, there has to be a by-election. Now, that hasn't actually been declared. It's not yet the case that we've had that clear indication from the government when the by-election may be. Josh Simons, the MP for Makerfield, needs to formally take on another role in the sort of constitutional peculiarity that MPs need to resign. He actually needs to be appointed by the Chancellor to either the steward and bailiff of the Chiltern Hundreds or the Manor of Northstead. So that's a fun little peculiarity in our constitution. But once he's done that, then the seat becomes vacant. Then it's up to the Chief Whip to decide when that by-election is. It could be 6 months from now. It could be 4 weeks from now. We just don't know. And then beyond that, the question becomes, does Andy Burnham get the all clear from the NEC of the Labour Party? Now, the NEC meets on Tuesday next week, but there's some reports today that it could decide as soon as today as to whether or not Andy Burnham might be blocked like last time. Of course, for the Gorton and Denton by-election, Andy Burnham faced a vote of 8-1 against him in terms of being able to stand in that seat, including the Prime Minister Keir Starmer being one of those individuals who voted against Andy Burnham, saying instead that they didn't want a by-election for the Mayor of Greater Manchester. They didn't want that sort of disruption. Well, it now seems that things have moved more in Andy Burnham's direction, but nothing is certain there. And then potentially the biggest hurdle of all for Burnham, and that is the seat that he has chosen to stand in, if indeed he's approved to stand in it. And that is Makerfield sits in a very reformy part of Greater Manchester. In the wider council area of Wigan, Reform won every single seat last Thursday. Indeed, Labour lost 24 seats in that one little area. It's going to be a huge uphill battle for the Labour Party to be able to take this seat. So Andy Burnham has by no means a guaranteed path back to Parliament. And then if he does get back into Parliament, he would need to launch a leadership contest. He'd need those 81 names from Labour MPs and to challenge the Prime Minister, then to win a vote of the membership. Although it does seem increasingly possible that there might not be a leadership election at all. Why do I say that? Because Andy Burnham faces such a steep hill, such a steep climb in order to win that seat. If he does, against the odds, beat Reform, and I spoke to Nigel Farage yesterday on the phone who told me that Reform is going to throw absolutely everything at this upcoming by-election. Well, if Andy Burnham manages to defeat Reform, potentially we might see less of a competition, less of a contest, and more of an Andy Burnham coronation for the leadership of the Labour Party and the keys to the building behind me.
Right, fair enough. But, I mean, the point is, this just points to the fact that the Prime Minister's days are, well, at least unchallenged, are numbered, aren't they, Tom? Because even if Andy Burnham doesn't get that by-election, doesn't start this whole process, well, somebody else will at that point, won't they? That seems pretty clear now.
Absolutely. I was speaking to a number of very nervous Labour staffers last night who were seemingly saying that there are 2 different possibilities here. There's the smooth transition of power that a lot of people who are supportive of Andy Burnham hope will happen, and that involves the NEC not standing in his way and then him winning this by-election, and then there being some sort of smooth transition of power agreed, perhaps a deal made between Andy Burnham and Wes Streeting, who, let's remember, has not declared his own candidacy in this potential race. Wes Streeting, in his resignation letter, simply said that it's time for the Prime Minister to go and there should be a broad contest. He himself didn't declare himself a candidate. That leaves the possibility open that a deal could be done between Wes Streeting and Andy Burnham. That leaves possible that a unifying ticket could be put forward were Andy Burnham to win that by-election. That is what fans of Andy Burnham see as the smooth transition model, sort of their best case scenario. However, that's not the only scenario, of course, that could happen. Were Andy Burnham to lose the seat of Makerfield to the Reform Party, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, then the Labour Party is in for an incredibly messy election, because it's likely the case that Keir Starmer would face yet another challenge to his leadership off the basis of failing to win a seat that was won in 2024. The blame for Andy Burnham's loss will likely fall at the feet of the Prime Minister, more so than Andy Burnham himself. And that would then lead, no doubt, to the same sort of instability we saw after the local elections. Perhaps hundreds more Labour MPs saying it's time for the Prime Minister to go, and perhaps people then, like Angela Rayner, like Ed Miliband, and maybe, yes, even Wes Streeting, throwing their hats into the ring for a bloody contest of bloodletting and disruption for the Labour Party. That's what those Labour Party figures I was speaking to last night fear the most, that there will be a competitive contest that no one comes out of smelling of roses, where people throw manure over everyone else and ultimately it damages the party. Those seem to be the two distinct possibilities, depending on whether or not Andy Burnham can be selected and win that seat.
OK, it's a big if, isn't it, Tom? Thank you very much. We'll chat to you in the next hour.
Should we talk to another Tom? This time, former Conservative Home Office Minister Tom Pursglove. Good to see you this morning. I wonder what you make of it now that you're out of politics and you can take a step back. I mean, the Tories went through all of this chaos, and we know it's bad for the party and it's bad for the country, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. And here we are again.
Well, we are now in a protracted leadership crisis in Number 10, and that's an absolute disaster for the country, and we all pay for that. You saw the markets react yesterday, and that will no doubt continue to be the case because they hate that instability. Things like unemployment have been going the wrong way on this government's watch as well, and you can just expect that if this wears on for weeks and weeks and weeks, which invariably it will, it's actually not in Keir Starmer's interest to have this by-election anytime soon. Probably playing for time suits him from a staying in Number 10 perspective. In the end, what all of this means is that the British people pay the price. They see a government in paralysis, can't reshuffle, can't set new policy. I would argue that that is not in the national interest, and I think it's a huge dereliction of duty of Labour politicians not to be more decisive in resolving this.
Let's talk about Andy Burnham, shall we? Because the road back to Westminster is anything but smooth and by no means guaranteed. He's got to win in Makerfield first. Do you think he can do that?
I think it'd be a very difficult by-election if you look at what happened in the local elections last week. It's also damning, isn't it, that you've got 400-odd Labour MPs and they don't think that any of them are good enough to step up and lead the country. What they're going to be doing is spending the next maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks up in Makerfield, campaigning there. Voters who actually are being taken for granted are probably going to feel very strongly about the fact that, in this case, politicians are serving their interests, not serving the interests of voters in that community. And it just raises as well a whole host of issues about democratic legitimacy. This is an individual who's not elected at the general election who could become Prime Minister, so hasn't even been a part of that mandate that all of those other Labour MPs are part of. And I think voters in Makerfield may not react very well to that.
Yeah, but this is where we are, and this is politics. I mean, I totally get your arguments, but it's politics, isn't it? And there's no other way out of this, is there now? We can't just forget about it and hope Keir Starmer limps on. That's not how it works.
No, it's over. And, I said on the channel a few days ago that this was over. It was just a matter of when. And the die has now been cast. Quite how it plays out remains very unclear, and that remains to be seen. But I don't see any off-ramp. I don't think that Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister in the autumn. Who takes over from him is to be determined. Andy Burnham has probably got a very strong chance, as Tom said. Well, if he's re-elected to
re-elected.
Big if. But if he's re-elected, I think he probably will be the candidate that emerges by the nature of having won such a difficult fight. But it's the cost in the meantime to voters, not least the monetary cost of putting all these elections on, which will run into the millions of pounds.
Tom, we are facing a very real possibility now that this could result in Britain's 6th Prime Minister in just 7 years. You know all about that. The majority of them have been Tory Prime Ministers.
By the way, I wouldn't have changed the first one out. I was Boris till the end, and I thought that was a big mistake. So.
Where does this leave us as a country, and what does it say about the political class? Have we as a country become ungovernable? Can nobody be given more of an opportunity than 18 months, 2 years before you flip on to the next Prime Minister?
If you ask me, voters have taken a real disliking to the constant churn that we've seen of Prime Ministers, and understandably so, because it is self-indulgent. It is political parties posturing, putting their own narrow self-interest ahead of the national interest. And as I say, when Boris was removed, I thought it was completely the wrong thing to do. And what we've seen since is a very febrile political environment where, when MPs feel a little bit unhappy about their lot, they move to try and get the next Prime Minister off the stocks. That is an absolute disaster for the government of this country, because more than anything else, on the most difficult challenges that we face, whether it's the economy, whether it's tackling illegal migration, whether it's supporting people into work and tackling unemployment, you need continuity. You need corporate memory. You need people who are in office for more than a few months before they're moved on to their next job. It just does absolutely nothing to give certainty and to deliver on the promises that we make. It's no surprise that people don't have confidence in promises being kept when what they see is just a constant cycling of the personnel who make those promises. They're not in a position to deliver them.
OK, Tom, we'll see you in the next hour. Thank you very much.
I'm just looking at electoral calculus, which is one of those sort of polling things. And things will change because Andy Burnham, as a candidate, if he is allowed to become a candidate for Makerfield, does alter things a little bit. But nevertheless, at the last election, there was a turnout of just over 50%, which is not great. You can imagine that Reform, I mean, all the parties, but particularly Reform, is going to be pushing to get a much, much higher turnout. Which would benefit them. And as it looks on the latest polling, the chances of winning, Labour 17%, Reform 82%. Now, that's a very big hurdle for Andy Burnham to get over.
It certainly is. And even looking at the local elections last week, the area around Makerfield, so the wider area of Wigan, well, it turned turquoise, didn't it?
Yeah.
50% share of the vote went to Reform. So it's not going to be smooth, and it's definitely not a guarantee. I think a lot rides on who's going to stand for Reform. There are calls for Maggie Oliver to stand in Makerfield, the grooming gang's whistleblower. Now, that could be a game changer.
Yeah.
Because she is very, very popular.
Would she want to stand for Reform?
Would she want to stand for Reform? I'm sure Nigel's been on the phone.
I mean, that could change everything, because then you're talking about significant names battling out against each other, and who would have the moral high ground there on that sort of issue. Be very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
We shall see. Right, in the meantime, let's have a look at the weather with Alex.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A chilly feel, again, out there today. A fresh end to what's been a fairly cold week, but with a bit more sunshine, not as many showers and lighter winds. Overall, a slightly warmer feeling by this afternoon. But the breeze is still coming down from the north and still bringing plenty of showers over northern Scotland, a sprinkling for Northern Ireland. Some showers this morning for the Midlands and Wales, and they'll drift into southern counties of England perhaps this afternoon. So some showers, yes, but not as intense, not as many as the past couple of days. A bit more sunshine and lighter winds. So although temperatures are still a touch below average, it will feel perhaps a little warmer than the past couple of days. It will be quite cold, though, if you are heading out this evening, and still, particularly on the roads across the southeast, there could be quite a lot of spray and surface water from the scattering of showers here. Elsewhere, though, many places dry to end Friday. 1 or 2 showers feeding in off the Irish Sea into Cumbria, perhaps, and showers throughout the day into northern Scotland, fed in by that breeze. Still coming down from the north, still quite noticeable, but not as strong as recent days. Well, the winds are easing and the skies are clearing. It's going to turn quite cold quite quickly on Friday night, so bear that in mind if you're heading out. And something for gardeners to bear in mind as well, because as we go through the early hours, those temperatures are going to get pretty close to freezing. Towns and cities may hold up at 4 or 5 degrees above freezing, but certainly in rural spots, not far off zero to start the weekend. Frost likely across Scotland, northern England, but even further south, pockets of frost are possible through Wales and even southern England. Shouldn't be too frosty in Northern Ireland because more cloud will come in here. That'll make for a grey day tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain. Some of that will trickle into western Scotland, parts of Wales through the day. Ahead of it, the odd shower, but a good chunk of the Midlands, eastern and northern England, much of eastern Scotland staying dry and bright for most of the day. Temperature-wise, a little bit higher as well, just starting to tick up, and signs of things getting a bit warmer as we go into next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, another day dawns on Westminster. Could more Labour MPs throw their hat in the ring for a potential leadership battle? We're going to speak to former Labour MP Karl Turner next.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 22 minutes past 7. We are just looking at live pictures here from the tarmac in Beijing, where Donald Trump is leaving after his state visit to China. He's had talks, hasn't he, with the president of China. They've been discussing Iran, Taiwan, and business and trade, according to President Trump. Lots of other things. He says we've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to solve. That's what he's been saying about the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, the big speech in the Great Hall of the People yesterday, where President Xi was actually used the slogan "Make America Great Again," which was quite interesting. Elon Musk was in the room.
Certainly was.
There was lots of talk about the technology and cooperating on that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's been interesting. It will be hailed as a huge success by the president. Of that, there is no doubt. We'll have to wait and see just how that continues to play out, though. But certainly a bit of a PR coup.
Yeah, and there's the president waving and heading into Air Force One, wrapping up the end of that trip to China.
Right. What about Westminster then?
Back to Westminster.
Back to Westminster, because I mean, as fascinating as all that is with President Trump, this is affecting us day to day, because the big question about all this chaos that's going on now, will he, won't he, can he, can't he, when it comes to Andy Burnham, and then will everybody else fall in behind him? What is going on with all of that? In the meantime, we're left with a situation as we don't know when any of this is going to happen. It could be months and months and months. And where does that leave us? Because we haven't sort of got a real leader anymore, have we? Because the Prime Minister seems like his wings have been very much clipped. Let's talk to former Conservative Special Advisor Claire Pearsall and our senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. It's a fair point, Nigel, isn't it? Because it's very likely. I mean, look, if the chief whip, under the instruction of Number 10, wanted to, we might not have a by-election for 4 or 5 months.
You could. My guess is what will happen is that the writ for the by-election will be moved next week. So we're then looking at a 3-week, 4-week campaign. The shorter the better, probably.
And you think they'll go that short? They won't try and give the Prime Minister till the autumn?
No, I don't. I think that now we've got to this stage, you want to get this over with. I mean, obviously, the Prime Minister gets to go on if Andy Burnham doesn't win the seat. So you need to actually to answer the Andy Burnham question, which is the way they're going to do it. Then the next stage will be, supposing that Andy Burnham gets through, the next stage will be a leadership contest. Now, that can go on for a couple of months. It may well be that this will be a coronation rather than that, because if no one stands against him, and he will be a shoo-in, provided the Prime Minister is prepared to quit. The Prime Minister goes on the ballot paper automatically. Andy Burnham will certainly get his 81 MPs that he needs.
Yeah. What, Claire?
I think the one important thing that we're all forgetting are the people who live in Makerfield. How do they feel about having somebody imposed upon them to say, this is the choice, this is what you've got, he's going to be great? Well, those people may not feel that way. I know a lot of Labour voters do feel incredibly let down by the Labour government as a whole. They are really unhappy at the direction it's taking, and they're not. The general public generally doesn't like to be told this is the person that you should be voting for. So I think that with a slim majority that's there already of just over 5,000, it's a real big ask of those people without taking into consideration what it is they want for their area.
And they will be all too aware that they are voting for the man who wants to become Prime Minister. He won't be looking at local issues and local concerns. They'll be worried that he'll be very much focused on Westminster.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. This is one of those extraordinary by-elections where actually what you are voting for is the next Prime Minister. Yeah. So there is that issue. However, it is Greater Manchester. So Andy Burnham is obviously the mayor of Manchester and a popular mayor. So on the basis of that, he will be in touch with local issues. So there isn't that problem. I think if Andy Burnham had ended up in Tunbridge Wells, it might have been very different, but he would never have gone for a seat down here anyway.
No. But nevertheless, I was looking at, where is it? Seat details, electoral calculus. Now, this is before all this kicked off, but there was an 82% chance, they reckon, of Reform winning the seat at an election.
Given the local election results, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, but I think we always have to be careful extrapolating what happens in the local election as to what happens in a general election. It is very different. But you cannot take the public for granted, and I think that any candidate who stands has to be really mindful of what's going on in that local area, because essentially you are the representation for those individuals in that area. So you may wish to be Prime Minister, however, people will still want to have their NHS problems, benefits issues, potholes, all of the things that are the bread and butter of an MP's workload. those still have to be taken into consideration.
But we were saying before in the last hour, I mean, it's playing politics, right? This is proper playing politics.
Yeah.
Right, where you're persuading someone to leave their seat, you're putting a mayoralty up for re-election, you're telling the people of Makerfield that, you've got to get in so you can take over the country. And it is how the system works, but it is not a popular thing to do.
No, you're right, and it is how the system works. It doesn't mean you have to like it, and I think that somebody who was newly elected in 2024, giving up their seat just because somebody else wants to become Prime Minister, I think that leaves a really bad taste in everybody's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's expensive to hold this by-election, plus a mayoralty election at the same time.
Plus you could always argue this is someone who got elected in 2024, Josh Simons, who has then very quickly risen up the ranks quite quickly, junior minister, I think he was, who's then had to resign from that position under a scandal. So they've had an MP since 2024 who's not performed well under those circumstances. I mean, if you were a Labour voter, you could be quite irritated by that, couldn't you?
All that is true. I mean, one shouldn't forget the people who actually make the decision, who are the voters. I think the point here is this is politics. And one of the Prime Minister's major problems has been he's not very good at politics. He does things that are just extraordinary for a politician to do. I think going right back from the beginning, the freebie clothes during the election campaign was just plain weird. I mean, what was he thinking that was okay?
Well, he was thinking he wasn't going to be found out.
Well, I don't know. He declared the reason he was found out was he declared it, but that's the way it came out. Then we had the winter fuel allowance, and again you're thinking you're going to go and mess with pensioners. That's a really bad idea. And more recently, over the last weekend, he thought the answer to the local election drubbing was to appoint Gordon Brown and Harriet Harman as advisors. Now, again, they may well be great advisors. You may need a global finance advisor. You may need an advisor on violence against women and girls. But that is not the answer to what happened at the local election.
But also that wasn't a new position because Harriet Harman had that for at least a year prior to this sort of strange Saturday morning announcement from the Prime Minister. And Gordon Brown, let's not forget, the man who sold off our gold at a very cheap price. So I mean, if you're looking at reasonable people to go into an advisor position, I don't think that's right up there with a good one. And also, why do it in response to a set of local elections on a Saturday?
But that was the weird thing.
Yeah,
it was the time. I mean, you don't like the appointments. I'm saying the appointments are fine, but the timing was just odd.
How much of this is down to him? I mean, when it comes to these very odd decisions, how much is it down to the Prime Minister not being able to play politics compared to people advising him?
Well, I mean, it's partly the advisors, and you've seen how many advisors have gone in the last 2 years. That they obviously weren't doing a great job. But ultimately, yes, it is his decision. I mean, certainly, if you go back to winter fuel allowance, he'd have had to sign that particular one off, and it was obviously a mistake.
Would he? Would he? I mean, he didn't seem to want to. He didn't seem to physically sign Peter Mandelson off.
I was going to say.
There was no... But that wasn't signed off in the boxes.
It's strange what comes across his desk and what doesn't, depending on what day of the week and how popular it is. I think that's where we're at.
Claire, just before we let you go, talking again about Makerfield, do you think we could see the Tories bow out of the race in order for it to be a reform?
No, I don't, and they definitely shouldn't. You shouldn't just pull out of a race because somebody's asking you to. Why should you? Because I think the public are entitled
because according to the electoral
wish,
they've got a 0% chance of winning anyway on electoral calculation.
But you need to be able to offer that alternative to people.
But you look at the last results, and actually, if Conservatives had pulled out, Reform would have won it.
But then why would you just pull out of a race as a
or at least it would have been pretty much neck and neck to stop Burnham.
But you're still a political party looking for representation, and I think you should stand a candidate. I don't think you should pull out just because of the characters involved. I really don't, and that goes for any party.
But on the basis that Andy Burnham may be the biggest, a much bigger threat to both the Conservatives and Reform winning the next general election. If he was in number 10, and he would go for number 10, and it would seem he would get number 10 if he wins Makerfield, why wouldn't you just do what is necessary to stop him?
Because this is not how politics works. This isn't democracy.
Country before
this
party,
isn't democracy.
yes.
Would you, as an England cricket team, pull out of the Ashes because you knew you were going to lose against Australia badly?
That's a game. That's a game. This is the contrary.
It's no different. For some people, that's life. This is life for us. And you don't pull out as a political party just because people are saying, oh, well, you haven't really got much of a chance. Give it up. No, I'm sorry. This is politics and democracy, and you offer people that choice.
I agree with Claire on this particular one.
Very good. A moment of harmony to end this segment. Thank you very much, you two. You will have a view on that one. Should the Tories pull out of the race in Makerfield? Let us know what you think.
It's an interesting one. Right, let's have a quick look at the giveaway, should we? Because you could win £76,543 and 21p. Here's how.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So, what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Just had a view in, I've now lost it, from somebody who says, I think that Wes Streeting has been given a cushy role on both sides. Oh, it's from Lee. He's been promised a good role on both sides, and that's why he hasn't gone for the leadership bid yet. Very interesting. And somebody else, Julie's been in touch, saying, if Nigel can persuade Maggie Oliver, that's the grooming gang's whistleblower, to stand against Burnham, I think it would be a masterstroke. Please, please, Nigel, let it happen. There you go. A couple of views there.
We shall see. It would be very interesting. She's a formidable woman. Right, we've got Tom Harwood, of course, in Downing Street Forwards this morning, keeping across everything that's going on. Morning, Tom.
Good morning. Yes, we are waiting to see what the NEC might decide with regard to could Andy Burnham be selected as the Labour Party candidate in Makerfield. We're talking about the future possibility of Andy Burnham as Prime Minister, but we don't even know if he's going to be selected as the candidate yet. We're keeping a close eye on that one.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A84 at Callander is closed due to a serious collision. On the M56 westbound between junctions 6 and 8, flooding has closed one of 4 lanes. Normal conditions are expected by 8:45. Meanwhile, a collision on the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 28 and 27 has shut one lane. This should clear by 8. On the Nottinghamshire A5, 2 eastbound between the A6011 and the A46, all lanes are closed due to a crash with clearance expected after 9:50. The M54 eastbound entry slip at junction 3 is closed until about 10:15 due to a collision. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 7:39. Ava's been in touch saying we're just discussing Makerfield and whether the Tories should pull out, allowing it to be a Reform and Labour race, potentially. She says, no, the Conservatives shouldn't pull out. We live in a democratic society and it should be Labour having their feet held to the fire. I think having Burnham stand there shows how desperate they really are right now. And Linda on Maggie Oliver says, I love Maggie Oliver and all that she stands for, but putting her in a political position will effectively silence her and take time away from the important work that she does. I don't think this would be the right position for her. This wonderful lady needs to be free to speak her voice.
I think she would be able to speak her voice. I don't think it would stop her at all. I've got to be honest. I don't see why being in Parliament would stop her. It would actually give her more authority.
And more of a profile as well. I mean, she's already a huge figure, but she could do some great work, couldn't she? Especially if she became the Minister for Women and Girls.
Well,
something like that.
If there was
if they were to be a reform government, yeah, you could see it.
There could be something. I mean, it would give her the chance to actually change things in law potentially,
which you may want to do.
I think that would be. I think it would be quite interesting. Should we talk to political commentator for Young Voices UK, Ben Cope, who's here? Ben, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you make of this as a young person? And we're always trying to encourage young people to get involved in politics a bit more. Is this the sort of excitement that will enthrall them or put them off because it looks completely chaotic?
I think it'll get a lot of people interested in politics over the next few months. I think Andy Burnham is quite popular with people my age, so I think there'll be some enthusiasm that someone that they support more than Starmer certainly looks like. He's very likely to become the next Prime Minister, so I think a lot of people will be enthused by that. I mean, for me personally, I don't think that Burnham has been tested enough, this ideology of Manchesterism, which people are now starting to talk about. I don't think it's been very well defined. Like, what does that mean, other than putting buses into public ownership? What does that mean?
So the argument for that is, though, that it's I mean, because what you would do in Manchester is very different to what you would do for the nation. But the argument he's making is, I've gone in, I've said I would do things, and I've actually got things done, which is the complaint that a lot of people have about government, is they say it's a talking shop and nothing actually happens.
I think his record has been more mixed than certainly is sort of commonly described at the moment. I think with the buses have been a success. I think he sort of talks about state capacity, that the state needs to be able to sort of go in and do more things, take back some control from the private sector. But sort of how much social housing has been built in Manchester over recent years? Very, very little. How has he run the police force? The national inspector had to come in because he didn't do a good job there. So I think we might find out, as I suspect he will become Prime Minister over the next next few months. I think we might find out that he's not quite as much of a heavyweight as is currently being described.
I'm intrigued by what you're saying about young people being enthused by politics in response to all of this. Do you think there'll also be anger from some young people, or frustration at least, because this is a government that promised to tread lightly on our lives, and instead we're seeing more chaos, more infighting, just like we did with the Tories, and now we've got an idea that we're going to have a mayor by-election in Manchester. We're going to have a by-election in Makerfield as well, costing British people a fortune.
I feel like those lines will probably affect different, or cut through with different demographics. I think with younger people, there's a sort of widespread alienation and disillusion that sort of nothing is going their way, and I think that's leading to the huge enthusiasm for Zach Polanski at the moment, that he'll just sort of shake things up a lot. And I think Burnham will be very damaging to the Greens for that reason, because it'll take a lot of that enthusiasm. I personally don't think it'll work that well for him, but yeah, I imagine a lot of young people will get on board with that.
But that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Certainly for younger voters and for young people interested in politics, they are often, don't want to call everyone the same, but they are often more left-leaning. They like more radical. The argument being from some, because they're looking at an immediacy rather than longer-term effects of some of what these policies stand for.
I think a lot of young people they see a system that isn't working for them by any metric in any means, and they see someone who's sort of a charismatic guy who's sort of promising a degree of hope, and yes, is more left wing, than the Tories were, than Starmer is. So I think there'll be enthusiasm for it. I think there is a case for an ideology like Burnham's to push the country forward. I'm not sure that he actually would be the best vehicle for that. But there's obviously been a lot of excitement in Westminster over the last few days that this could be finally a way to deliver the growth agenda, which I think is interesting and would get a lot of young people involved. But yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be the guy to do it.
Okay. Ben Cope, really good to get your perspective on things this morning. Thank you very much.
Right, still to come, we're going to be talking to the former Labour MP, now an independent, Karl Turner, telling us what he thinks the Prime Minister's next move might be.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for most of Portugal this weekend. Same goes for Sicily and Sardinia. A few showers likely in Croatia. Showers can't be completely ruled out in Madeira as well, with a fairly brisk and cool wind blowing here. Plenty of sunshine though around the Spanish costas. Sunny spells too for the Balearics, as I said, Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy showers though in Croatia. They should be moving away though, so Dubrovnik looking sunnier on Sunday, and signs of things warming up a touch in Rome as we head into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
I've got a world exclusive for you. There's a very exciting new talent on the London stage. We've got a little exclusive clip for you here.
Baby chair.
OK, so we saw a scene in a bar with not much dialogue. What was that then?
That was me.
What?
That was me, Michael.
What was
that was
from
me
then?
strolling onto stage. I think they've got some pictures of me in costume and everything. There you go.
Oh, now we have a picture
Yeah,
of you,
so this
recognisably.
That was me. Very exciting new talent. So this is the Park Theatre up in North London, and again, this is more of my love of local theatres,
Yes.
regional theatres, community theatres.
Yes.
I'd had a lovely chat with Jez Bond, who is the founder, director and writer of this show. They need 600,000 a year on top of box office takings just to break even. So every year they do this whodunit. And the idea is, apart from me, they have Ian McKellen doing the voiceover, they have Emma Thompson, Gillian Anderson, Julian Clary, Hugh Bonneville, Benedict Cumberbatch. All these people come in for one night, they turn up, they're literally put into they play the sheriff in this mad spoof whodunit. They get an earpiece, and then, literally, so that's it. They open the fake saloon doors, come on stage, I walked to the bar and ordered a baby sham with my amazing Westerns accent. And then the rest of the play, you have the earpiece in. So I went and did about an hour, and I was the first person they had on the stage to see how it all works. And it was fascinating.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's go straight to Downing Street and join GB News Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood. Morning to you, Tom. The new Health Secretary just walked into number 10.
Oh, was it you? That's right, James Murray. He's a face that might be familiar to many at GB News. He was the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, and now he's the new Health Secretary. Well, his car rolled into the gates of Downing Street just a couple of minutes ago, and he decided to take the long walk, the length of the street, in the sunshine, to stride confidently into Downing Street, into that shining black door behind me. Now, I managed to shout a few questions at the new Health Secretary. Did he think he would be in the job for long? Did he think he'd have the same boss throughout his role in the job? And frankly, he did not respond to any of those questions, but he did sort of say good morning, he had a smile on his face, and he walked in. This is a government trying to project normality and stability. However, we all know that behind the scenes there is a huge amount of consternation and a huge amount of uncertainty, frankly, in terms of how long Keir Starmer can cling on to power. He's made a number of appointments. He's appointed a new Chief Secretary to the Treasury. He's appointed a new Health Secretary. He made 6 new ministerial appointments earlier in the week as well. Four new ministerial appointments, 6 new parliamentary private secretary appointments. He has tried to plug the gaps of all of the resignations in this government. And yet there is a question mark over how long can this sort of hull corking go on. Are these just temporary appointments? Is it all business as usual? I think a lot of people are expecting that the current makeup of the cabinet is not going to last a year.
OK, Tom, thank you very much.
All right, let's get the perspective of someone who, well, used to be in the Labour Party up until March this year. It's independent MP for Hull East, Karl Turner. Good morning to you. I wonder what you make of all this, Karl, as someone who was a Labour MP. And obviously, I don't know whether you'd want to get the whip back at some point. I don't know. But what do you make of this chaos?
Well, the first thing is, I'm still a member of the Labour Party and I expect to get the whip back. I should never have had the whip removed for speaking against a policy which was ludicrous, doing away with some jury trials in serious criminal proceedings where those who were accused, if convicted by a single judge, if David Lammy had his way, would get up to 3 years in prison. It was a ludicrous idea. The whip shouldn't have been removed from me for that, but that speaks to the way that Keir Starmer's managed the Party, and that's why Keir Starmer is in the state he's in now.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, certainly when you look at a lot of the complaints that have been made by MPs in the last week, and particularly in that Wes Streeting letter, I mean, there is this clear indication that he thinks Keir Starmer does not listen to other voices.
Listen, whatsoever. I had a good relationship with Keir Starmer. He was a pal of mine, actually. He would text me regularly. On the Andy Burnham thing, I was messaging the PM and we spoke directly about it. I said, don't block Andy Burnham. What is the point of that? Don't be frightened of people coming in and potentially getting your job. Use the people around you. You've got to have your best players on the field. Keir Starmer listens to nobody. You know, what he has this expression, I'm not doing this by committee. And what he means is, I've made my mind up, shut up.
Do you think that Andy Burnham will win in Makerfield?
I don't know, to be honest with you. It's a matter for the electorate in Makerfield, but it's an uphill battle for us in Makerfield in the same way that it's an uphill battle for us anywhere. If there was a general election in the next 2-3 weeks from now, we'd lose probably 150 MPs at the very least, probably more, probably 250 MPs. He stole my seat, which has been Labour since its very inception, would go to reform. And if God came down from heaven wearing a red rosette, we still wouldn't win the seat. Reform would be the next MP for all East. That's the reality of the situation we're in. It's not entirely Keir Starmer's fault, but I tell you something, I put an awful lot of it down to him. Bad management. He's tried to run the Labour Party like he runs the CPS. I'm afraid to tell you, he has absolutely no politics.
So what happens next? Because there's going to be a leadership election, isn't there? Whether Andy Burnham gets in or not, if he doesn't make it, then someone else is going to get the numbers, aren't they? Who would you back if it came down to that?
Well, I'd be content with new leadership as long as it's somebody who's in the Labour Party. I mean, the reality is I have a preference, but it isn't my choice. I don't even get to select anybody. I can't nominate because I've been suspended because Keir Starmer can't live with the fact that somebody's got the audacity of telling him that something's a bad idea.
Yeah, but you'd still get to vote, though, if you're a member of the Labour Party.
I'd get to vote. My choice would be Angela Rayner. Andy Burnham's not in yet. He might not get in. I can't sort of do hypotheticals. You know, that's the reality of where we are. Wes Streeting's a fantastic communicator and I think an incredibly strong politician, actually. I think it's a shame that he's been treated in the way that he's been treated.
Well, Karl, what did you make of his resignation letter yesterday? Because it was a brutal assessment, wasn't it, of Sir Keir Starmer's lack of vision. He said it was a vacuum. Winter fuel cuts was a mistake. Island of Strangers speech was a mistake. Did you agree with that resignation letter and what was within that?
Absolutely, I did. And look, this thing about everybody's upset with Wes Streeting in the cabinet. Good on Wes Streeting, actually, to tell the truth. And the reality is these people in the cabinet are not friends of Keir Starmer. Let's not pretend they are. I'll tell you what they're friends of. 160,000 quid a year going into the bank in a posh car to take them home at night. That's what's happening for most of them. There's some in there who deserve to be in there and deserve to be staying in there. That's who I think should be in. I'm not going to speak and name them now, but there's cabinet ministers in there who deserve to be in. There's cabinet ministers in there who would be glad to see the back of Keir Starmer just as much as anybody else, frankly. They pretend not to be like that, but the reality is very different when you know these people personally.
All right, Karl, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. We appreciate a bit of straight talking.
Thanks, Karl.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting, isn't it?
Very much is, yeah.
That's someone who's not playing politics. I think, but you know, if you are in cabinet, if you are in government, playing politics, towing the party line, you've heard it all before. It's what you have to do. It's why you always get more frank talk when they end up leaving government.
That's somebody who wants to see a change in party leadership, who is not happy with the status quo. We're going to be talking about this more in the next few minutes.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A84 at Callanda is closed in both directions due to a road traffic collision. In Nottinghamshire, the A52 eastbound between the A6011 and junction with the A46 is fully closed following a crash, with normal conditions expected by 10:51 this morning. Shropshire's M54 eastbound entry slip at junction 3 is shut because of a traffic collision, with all lanes blocked until around 10:50 this morning. Meanwhile, Surrey is experiencing delays of 40 minutes on the A3 northbound between junctions with the A283 and the A31 due to lane closures after an accident. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Well, the nation braces for a Labour leadership battle that could result in Britain's 6th Prime Minister in 7 years.
Yes, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham pins his hopes of returning to the heart of Westminster on a by-election in Makerfield. And Angela Rayner says the National Executive Committee shouldn't stand in his way.
Andy Burnham should never have been blocked. It was a mistake that the leadership of our party should put right.
Well, if he wins, Burnham's allies say he would immediately trigger a leadership contest for number 10.
But if he loses, it could be the end of his political career and risk Reform winning both the by-election and the Manchester mayoralty.
Well, Burnham, it would seem, is willing to risk it all to go head-to-head with Keir Starmer. But while Westminster plays politics, does that mean Britain suffers?
Well, it is a tumultuous time in the time of this government, and yet there are still many questions left to be answered. Could the NEC block Andy Burnham, or might Labour allow him to stand? We could hear that result as soon as today.
Well, Burnham's not the only one on manoeuvres. Wes Streeting quits as Health Secretary but fails to launch his own leadership bid, yet at least, leading to speculation that he may have not simply had the numbers, while others predict he's in secret cahoots with the Burnham-Rayner camp. Well, Kemi Badenoch wasn't afraid to take the fight to Wes Streeting.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. The Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Another fresh one out there this morning. Through the day today, though, a bit more sunshine, not as many showers, and the winds will be a little bit lighter also. Join me later for a full forecast. We'll also have a peek at Saturday's weather.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, sort of. The Labour leadership battle has begun.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah, because...
Plans are in motion. We can put it like that, can't we?
Yes. Look, and it's because the Labour MP for Makerfield, Josh Simons, has announced he's standing aside, right? So Andy Burnham can challenge that seat, try to win that seat, and then try to challenge Sir Keir Starmer. But, of course...
That's lots of hurdles.
None of it's guaranteed.
None of it's guaranteed.
None of it is guaranteed.
Well, of course, this all comes as Wes Streeting resigns as Health Secretary. You'll remember that happened at 1 p.m. yesterday. This is all happening all so quickly, isn't it? In that resignation letter to Sir Keir Starmer, he said it is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election.
Yeah, that was a picture of Josh Simons, just in case you were wondering if Wes Streeting had suddenly lost a bit of hair. Now, how will the Prime Minister tackle his colleagues who are clawing for the keys of number 10? And what will today hold in Westminster?
Well, let's speak now to GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, who joins us from Downing Street. And we've just seen Wes Streeting's replacement enter that famous black door behind you, Tom.
We have, Ellie, and it's not just him, but a beauty parade of new ministers has been marched down Downing Street. James Murray, the new Health Secretary, around 15 minutes ago, drove into the gates of Downing Street and then made the long sort of catwalk up to that black door behind me. In full view of the media, it allowed me and some of my colleagues here on Downing Street to shout questions of course, traditionally, which the ministers do not reply to, but still striding into Downing Street there, a smile on his face, ignoring my questions about just how long he might be in his job and just how stable his boss might be in terms of his role in his job. But then, curiously, minutes later, his replacement as Chief Secretary to the Treasury turned up. Lucy Rigby has been promoted into that role in the Treasury, but there was no such confidence from her. Really curiously, Lucy Rigby's ministerial car drove right up to the black door of Downing Street, out of view of the media. She opened the door and scurried inside before anyone could shout anything at her at all. I have to say, Ellie, it's not a move that screams confidence from the new Chief Secretary to the Treasury. She wanted to basically hide away from all the cameras here on Downing Street. Not a good look in your first day at the job.
I mean, because as you say, Tom, it's all about displaying confidence in what is happening and the decisions the Prime Minister is making, and it doesn't do that at all.
Absolutely, to sort of scurry away, hide your face from the cameras. Firstly, it doesn't do you any favours, but also it makes the government look like they've got something to hide, and highlights again this trouble that this government has, that the Prime Minister is universally seen now as someone who will not see out his term in government. Now, one way or another, this Prime Minister will be dislodged before this 5-year parliamentary term is up. It seems overwhelmingly likely that if Andy Burnham is allowed to stand in the seat of Makerfield and is able to win that seat and fight that uphill struggle that he will have, given how demographically favourable that area is to the Reform Party, if he's able to win, it seems like the momentum is with Andy Burnham to launch a challenge and potentially win that challenge, becoming Prime Minister in short order after that by-election. But there are huge question marks now in terms of when that by-election might be held. That's in the gift of the Chief Whip, Jonathan Reynolds. He can decide basically when that by-election is going to be held. It's also a question mark in terms of whether or not the Labour Party NEC will select Andy Burnham for the shortlist to then be selected by the local party to then face the wider electorate in Makerfield. There are so many different steps here, but I'm hearing that potentially we might hear a decision from the Labour Party NEC as soon as today. If not, they're due to meet anyway next Tuesday, so we could hear then. There does seem to be an increasing understanding amongst Labour Party figures that unlike last time, unlike with his attempt to stand in Gorton and Denton, Andy Burnham will not be blocked for this seat. Simply looking at the turmoil in the Labour Party, let's not forget almost 100 Labour MPs have said that Keir Starmer should resign. We've had a cabinet resignation, 4 ministerial resignations, 6 parliamentary private secretary resignations. It has been a tumultuous week for the Prime Minister here in Downing Street, and frankly, there are now fewer places for the Prime Minister to retreat to, fewer ways that the Prime Minister can strongly say that he can block Burnham and not risk tearing his party asunder. So crucially, it does seem like we are now leaning towards the Labour Party NEC allowing Burnham to stand, and if he does, frankly, we're on for the by-election of the century. This is no exaggeration. This could be the most important by-election that we have ever seen in this country, because the result of it could determine the Prime Minister.
And Tom, you have set out on X 2 scenarios that could happen when it comes to Makerfield. One is the best case scenario for Labour, and one is the worst case scenario. One is smooth, and one descends into absolute chaos. Tell us more.
Absolutely. These are two scenarios I was discussing with Labour advisers last night. The best case scenario for the Labour Party looks a little bit like this. Andy Burnham is selected. He clears those NEC hurdles, the local party selection. He becomes the candidate in Makerfield. And then somehow, against the odds, he's able to win that seat. He then returns to Westminster for the first time in a decade, looking like the man who can defeat the Reform Party, looking unassailable. He then makes a deal with people like Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner. He gives them potential jobs in his cabinet and negotiates a smooth transition with the current Prime Minister Keir Starmer, an orderly transition, in effect a coronation, like we saw when Gordon Brown became Prime Minister in 2007. A smooth transition of power from Tony Blair to Gordon Brown then. Could it be that if Andy Burnham wins this election decisively against the Reform Party, is seen as the man who can defeat Reform, that then his coronation becomes inevitable? He makes those deals, Starmer steps aside, and there is a smooth transition of power. That is the best case scenario, but it is not the guaranteed scenario. The worst case scenario for the Labour Party is that Burnham is, yes, selected for Makerfield, but then fails to win the seat. The Reform Party win that seat, and all hell breaks loose in Westminster. Keir Starmer is blamed for Andy Burnham's loss, given how popular Burnham is in Manchester and how unpopular this current government is. Then we see what we've seen over the last 5 days, but times 100. More MPs saying that Starmer must go. More resignations. Perhaps someone like Wes Streeting then does launch his attempt to become Prime Minister, his challenge to Starmer. Perhaps Ed Miliband throws his hat in the ring. Perhaps Angela Rayner throws her hat in the ring. And then there is a messy, bloodletting contest where for weeks and weeks they tear chunks out of each other and out of the government's record in office. The Labour Party sinks lower in the polls, and frankly, the only person who comes out of this with any joy at all is Nigel Farage as he laughs his way to number 10. That's Labour's worst case scenario, and my goodness me, it doesn't seem like either of those particular possibilities are that far-fetched, are that beyond the realm of imagination. We could be in for an incredibly interesting time in our politics.
Certainly could, Tom. Thank you so much.
All right, let's talk to former Conservative Home Office Minister Tom Pursglove, who's here. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
I mean, this is chaos, frankly, isn't it? Because it's, I mean, the smoothest case scenario with this is Andy Burnham winning and getting through and launching a leadership campaign, which it would seem win pretty easily. But it is a very big if. This is a very, very difficult seat for him to push for. And it would lead to, I mean, certainly chaos for the country in terms of just how difficult then this would be in terms of the ongoing leadership battle which would ensue without him.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in both of those scenarios, Burnham, because Starmer is so unpopular, wins out in that if he were to lose, the blame would be piled onto Starmer. But of course, if Burnham were to win, it would be because he's a fantastic politician and he stormed through and made it happen against all the odds. So in many respects, he kind of wins either way in terms of his brand. But of course, he wants to get the outcome of being Prime Minister at the end of it. But in the meantime, the country pays the price. And we're already feeling that. We're already feeling the bond markets respond to this. I don't think some of the things that Andy Burnham has said around fiscal responsibility are right in the context of the times that we live in.
Well, we're too in hock with the bond markets, is what Andy Burnham has famously said.
The bottom line is that you have to live within the realities of the world that exists now. And that means living within our means. There are difficult spending decisions down the line, particularly if you want to invest in things like defence. And those are limitations on what you can do as politicians. But it's also made worse by the fact that a lot of what Andy Burnham has kind of been saying to roll the pitch for this run, the Labour Party doesn't necessarily have a mandate for. So again, that brings into sharp focus democratic legitimacy, whether there ought to be a general election if he becomes Prime Minister, because he wasn't even elected at the 2024 general election with all of his colleagues.
But again, look, and this is always called
chaos.
But this is always called for, right? You change a Prime Minister.
Called for Andy Burnham, didn't he?
Well, yes, he did. Well, he did. But I mean, heck, who's to say politicians can't be slightly hypocritical? Because you look at the opinion polls, and why would he become Prime Minister, launch a general election campaign? I mean, he could beat Liz Truss as the shortest-serving Prime Minister in history. He's not going to risk it, is he?
It'll all depend on where the opinion polls go. If he gets a bit of a bounce, if he becomes Prime Minister and gets a bit of a bounce...
A Burnham bounce.
I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to go for it and to call an election, because there will be calls for that, because inevitably that happens when leadership changes come about mid-Parliament. That is a fairly new phenomena, and what we've seen consistently is politicians calling for that. But the election will be difficult to get there. I mean, the literature writes itself for the opponents, doesn't it? You had Labour cabinet ministers out yesterday saying that really this was playing games with the electorate, that this was creating a by-election when arguably there isn't really a proper purpose for one. But also, the message effectively is vote Labour to bin Starmer. That's an unbelievable situation to be in. We're in for an extraordinary few weeks.
Just one very quickly, because we are out of time with you, but should the Tories stand aside in Makerfield to allow reform to take it and stop Andy Burnham?
I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that...
Well, no, it might not happen. But
should they?
If the Tories had stood aside in 2024, it looks like reform would have probably taken it.
I'm very much on the unite the right side of the argument, and I think one of the things I've consistently said, and it's really important in this context, is that people who want a right-of-centre government have not got to be out there calling one another names. I don't think that we're yet in the place where you're going to see parties come together and reach agreement. But my view is, if by the time we get to the general election, it looks like we may have a Labour government or a left-wing coalition of chaos, people have got to put the national interest first, and we've got to find a way through that. This will be yet another test case on that road. Things like tactical voting may come into play, which will be really pertinent, and we need to be really alive to that, because I don't think the public will forgive us if we allow another government of a left-wing persuasion to take office after the next election. But I don't think it will happen in time for this particular contest.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, it's 8:15. Some breaking news for you now. British Gas has agreed to a £20 million payout to compensate customers who had a prepayment meter installed without their permission. The energy supplier will compensate customers who were affected in 2018 to 2021 on top of payments that have already been made to those affected in 2022 to 2023.
President Trump has left Beijing after a historic state visit to China. Following talks on the final day of the visit, the US president has suggested the military destruction of Iran is to be continued. Mr. Trump has claimed that he and Xi Jinping have settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to solve during his time with the Chinese leader.
And a college student has died. 2 people are being treated after cases of meningitis were confirmed in Reading, according to the Health Security Agency. Close contacts of those affected are being offered antibiotics as a precaution. One of the cases, we're told, is meningitis B, which is the same strand linked to an outbreak in Kent earlier this year. I don't know about you, my brain feels like it's going to explode.
It's been a lot, hasn't it?
It has been a lot.
Busy week.
It's been a lot for us. It's been a lot for you as well. I mean, try to take all of this in. Are you one of those people who is just trying to absorb every little twist and turn in this? Are you throwing stuff at the telly?
Are you sick of it already? But I'm afraid to tell you
it's going to go on.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have a by-election date, but when we will, it will go to then, at least then. And then potentially a leadership battle after that, if Andy Burnham wins in Makerfield.
It's like that woman, was it in 2016 when there was another general election? Not another one.
Yeah, not another one.
It feels like that all over again, doesn't it? It's never-ending politics at the moment, but it's got to be sorted out one way or the other.
Well, it's going to have to be, isn't it? Should we give you a little bit of respite now and hopefully some good news and good weather on the horizon? Alex Deacon's got all the details.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A chilly feel, again, out there today. A fresh end to what's been a fairly cold week, but with a bit more sunshine, not as many showers and lighter winds. Overall, a slightly warmer feeling by this afternoon. But the breeze is still coming down from the north and still bringing plenty of showers over northern Scotland, a sprinkling for Northern Ireland. Some showers this morning for the Midlands and Wales, and they'll drift into southern counties of England perhaps this afternoon. So some showers, yes, but not as intense, not as many as the past couple of days. A bit more sunshine and lighter winds. So although temperatures are still a touch below average, it will feel perhaps a little warmer than the past couple of days. It will be quite cold, though, if you are heading out this evening, and still, particularly on the roads across the southeast, there could be quite a lot of spray and surface water from the scattering of showers here. Elsewhere, though, many places dry to end Friday. 1 or 2 showers feeding in off the Irish Sea into Cumbria, perhaps, and showers throughout the day into northern Scotland, fed in by that breeze. Still coming down from the north, still quite noticeable, but not as strong as recent days. Well, the winds are easing and the skies are clearing. It's going to turn quite cold quite quickly on Friday night, so bear that in mind if you're heading out. And something for gardeners to bear in mind as well, because as we go through the early hours, those temperatures are going to get pretty close to freezing. Towns and cities may hold up at 4 or 5 degrees above freezing, but certainly in rural spots, not far off zero to start the weekend. Frost likely across Scotland, northern England, but even further south, pockets of frost are possible through Wales and even southern England. Shouldn't be too frosty in Northern Ireland because more cloud will come in here. That'll make for a grey day tomorrow with some outbreaks of rain. Some of that will trickle into western Scotland, parts of Wales through the day. Ahead of it, the odd shower, but a good chunk of the Midlands, eastern and northern England, much of eastern Scotland staying dry and bright for most of the day. Temperature-wise, a little bit higher as well, just starting to tick up and signs of things getting a bit warmer as we go into next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
I forgot to look at the weather then. I was too busy talking politics.
We were.
Is it going to rain again? It's been terrible, actually.
Let us know what the weather is.
Yeah,
we're
please
actually not sure.
Right, look, Makerfield. That's what we're...
Makerfield or Breakerfield?
That's the way.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like it could go reform in a by-election if the current polling is right, which means it's an uphill battle for Andy Burnham if he's allowed to stand there. What a load of absolute chaos this is. Reform say they're going to throw everything at it, including the kitchen sink, one would imagine. So we're going to talk to Richard Tice a little bit later, but also, coming up very shortly, Sophie Reaper, who's in the constituency this morning as well. So hopefully, if she's able to gauge what people there are saying, because all focus on that constituency from here on in for the next few weeks at least.
Well, you join me on the ground this morning in Makersfield, which until yesterday was held by Josh Simons and the Labour Party, but not anymore. We'll have all the latest here on the ground coming up after the break.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Now, Makerfield in Manchester is waking up at 8:24, knowing that it's about to become the political capital of Britain, at least until constituents elect a new MP, after Labour's Josh Simons announced he was standing down to make way for Andy Burnham.
Well,
to stand, at least.
To stand,
Possibly
exactly.
stand.
Possibly stand, if he gets permission from the NEC, this is. GB News' national reporter Sophie Reaper is in Makerfield this morning. It's being dubbed Makerfield or Breakerfield, Sophie.
Good morning to you both. Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right. They know here already as the sun rises that they are about to become the epicentre of another huge political battle. In fact, one gentleman walking past just said to me, are we going to be inundated with cameras today? And I said, unfortunately, I think you will be, and you will be for some time to come. Because, of course, as you rightly say, yesterday everything blew up here when their MP, Josh Simons, announced that he was stepping down, triggering that by-election to allow Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, the chance to stand here. Now, of course, there's lots of hurdles to go until Andy Burnham would get that chance, but it's really interesting when we take a look at this seat because, first of all, it's only a couple of miles down the road from the constituency where Andy Burnham himself was an MP from 2001 to 2017. That was the constituency of Lee. But also, this seat itself, it's often considered not only as one of the safest Labour seats, right in the heart of the Red Wall here in the north of England, but in fact, since it became a constituency in 1983, it has always been a Labour seat. There has always been a Labour seat here in Makerfield. And of course, in the 2024 general election, that was no different. That was when Josh Simons took the seat. But now it's all changed. And if we take a look at the political landscape here, not only in Makerfield, but in Wigan as a whole, of course, we had the huge local elections last week. And if we take a look at that, then if it's anything to go by, it may not be the safest seat for Labour to be contesting. And that is because there were 25 of 75 of the council seats up for grabs last week, and Labour lost all 25, 24 of them going to Reform, one of them going to Independent. So what used to be a particularly safe seat for Labour and what may once have been an excellent opportunity for Andy Burnham is actually going to be a much tougher battle for him to be fighting. But of course, the people who will make the decision ultimately are the people, and that is why we were here in Makerfield this morning. We're going to be speaking to local people throughout the day, finding out what they make of their MP Josh Simons standing down, and finding out what they would make of the possibility of Andy Burnham, if he can get past all of these hurdles, if he could become their MP, what they make of that. So we'll have that all throughout the day, live from the constituency.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, here in the studio, former Labour MP Stephen Pound. Stephen, morning to you. I mean, look, you were a Labour MP for, what, about 120 years? It's thereabouts.
22.
Well, have you ever seen chaos like this?
Well, I'm tempted to say virtually every day of the week, but no, not like this, because basically we're in completely uncharted territory here. This is when we had the campaign against Jeremy Corbyn within the Labour Party. Remember, he had this sort of vote of confidence, and I think he got 40 votes. But we've never had anything quite like this before, where there's an intensely high-risk strategy. I mean, Andy Burnham is doing a bit of tightrope walking here. I mean, if he loses in Makerfield, and don't forget, Josh Simons had a majority of, 5,400, but Reform took over 50% of the vote just a couple of weeks ago, in fact, last month. So if he loses that, that's it's game over. But for him, that's his career. If he wins...
Massive risk.
A huge risk. But if he wins, what does that mean for West Streeting? What does it mean for Angela Rayner? You know, where do they stand?
Well, plum cabinet positions, one would imagine.
Well, no, they've got leadership ambitions, haven't they? So what we could end up is an absolute disaster here. We've got 3 or 4 people, each representing a different wing of the party. People like you will then say, what is the Labour Party for? Are we breaking up? It is now atomising into different factions.
But then with all of this then, I mean, the assumption from all of that is that if he gets Makerfield, if he manages to win that seat, which is a big if, then he becomes Prime Minister. So what's the incentive for the Chief Whip to get this going? And why does he just say, well, all right, we'll have a by-election in Makerfield in 5 months?
Well, one of the problems we got here is that if Andy, to stand in Makerfield, has to actually resign as Mayor of Greater Manchester. The by-election in Greater Manchester would cost various figures from $500,000 up to $1 million, an enormous amount of money. And then, you know, who's going to be the candidate? I mean, the logical thing...
Well, he says he's got a candidate ready, doesn't he?
Well, she's the leader of Manchester City Council, who, you know, is a very strong candidate. I mean, a lot of people thought Lucy Powell, who inherited Andy's seat in Manchester, would be the obvious candidate for her to stand up. But, you know, I have to say, Stephen, I mean, you've been around for a while, not as long as me, obviously, because nobody has, but in reality, what do you think the good people, the good burghers of Makerfield are going to see about being used as political pawns in this sense? I mean, it's personally, if it happened to me in my constituency, I'd be pretty offended. And you've also got to think, Angela Rayner yesterday and HMRC, with impeccable theatrical timing, have now said, yeah, we'll take the 40 grand and call it a day. And she has then got in position to throw her hat into the ring. And of course, meanwhile, as we all know, and I think as you both said, Wesley hasn't quite got the numbers yet for a challenge.
Has he not got the numbers? Or is
he
this all part of a bigger plan that if Andy Burnham is successful in Makerfield, they're all in cahoots and it will be Andy Burnham as PM, Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner in the cabinet, because they know if Wes Streeting goes now, let's say he becomes Prime Minister, there will always be the Andy Burnham question. The threat will always be there unless it's answered.
I know, it's a good point. So far, the only person who said he'd be prepared, the only big hitter who said he'd be prepared to take a job other than Prime Ministership is Ed Miliband, who said he'd love to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. You know, But at least he said he's not going to run for the leadership. But everybody else, I mean, Angela Rayner, I mean, you know, I don't see her leading the party. I mean, I can see her, you know, running a pretty good party in Ibiza, but I'm not entirely sure she could do it in Westminster. And, you know, but and Wes was actually, did you read his letter? Of course you did, of course you did. You know, the first is 1,000 words about all the marvellous things he's achieved in the NHS and how he was determined to carry on. It's a great shame that he didn't actually carry on doing that. So could he come, you know, it's all up in the air, but the bottom line is, do the citizens of Makerfield and all the people of Greater Manchester really sit comfortably with the idea of them being used as pawns in this big political game? And Ellie, when you rightly talk about these different factions within that, and you know what for individual people's ambition, you know, when I was in Parliament, we were told the main thing is put your country first, your constituents second, and your party third. It looks like other people have got it the wrong way around.
Oh,
that's very good.
That's just a final thought before we let you go.
Yeah.
As someone, you know, lifelong Labour, obviously, you know, able to take a step back now, what would your prediction be in that? Turnout 52% at the last general election. I imagine it's going to be higher in this by-election. Would you expect Labour to win with Andy Burnham as candidate or not?
It's interesting. When you said expect Labour to win, I'd always expect Andy Burnham to win, because Andy Burnham is a winner. I knew him when he first came into the House, when he represented Lee in Lancashire, and he made a huge impression within the first couple of days. However, Reform are well funded at the present time. We won't go into the details, but they have got a few bob in their back pocket. If they can find a credible local candidate.
What about Maggie Oliver? Have you heard about this?
Indeed,
yes.
That's indeed. And I'm not sure we can start mentioning names, but you know, the name's out there. Yeah. And the money's there, the votes are there. If I was Andy Burnham today, I'd be thinking, have I jumped too soon? Have I really given up the possibility of carrying on as the King of the North? Because don't forget, if he resigns as Mayor of Greater Manchester and loses in Makerfield, where is he?
Toast.
End of his career, isn't
Well, he's at Everton, obviously watching a lot of football, but...
Yeah, well, there's that.
All right, Stephen, good to see you.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks very much.
That's given you enough to think about for the time being. You better concentrate on the road if you're travelling to work or school this morning. Here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Surrey, the A3 northbound between junctions with the A283 and the A31 is partially closed due to a crash, causing 10-minute delays. In Greater London, the M4 spur southbound between Junction 4 and Junction 4A is congested with 30-minute delays. Meanwhile, in Nottinghamshire, the A52 eastbound between the A611 and junction with the A46 is closed following a collision, with normal traffic expected by 12 this afternoon. The A470 northbound at Nantgarv has congestion affecting the off-slip. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be speaking to Richard Tice shortly, aren't we?
That's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. They say they're going to throw everything at Makerfield. What does that mean exactly? Have they thought about candidates?
Well, we'll be asking him.
Conversation.
We'll be asking him. Tom Harwood, of course, is keeping across all the movement in number 10.
Yes, but before any of that, Claire and Nigel are back. That's in a few minutes' time.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Should we have a look at some newspaper front pages? There are some good ones today, some good headlines out there.
Yeah, the Mail takes aim at streeting Rayner and Burnham, calling them Labour's big pretenders.
Yeah, and the top of the page says, God help us all, day 2. The Sun claims that Andy Burnham will fight for a seat in Westminster, as the Prime Minister is reportedly planning not to block him from standing in Makerfield. Burn to run, they've gone with. Born to run, I think that's meant to be a play
but
on
it
that.
doesn't quite work, does it? The Telegraph joins in speculation over Andy Burnham.
And the Times reports on the same story with an image of the Prime Minister yesterday afternoon looking, well, rather glum.
Looks like he's behind bars.
It does look like he's behind bars.
Which is very, very odd. Let's talk to former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall and our senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. We'll try and sort of work in one or two papers on this to ease the chaos here in the studio.
The reshuffle.
Yeah, should we? Claire, I mean, it's interesting. The Telegraph is sort of saying Labour's big beast turned their guns on the Prime Minister without anyone firing a shot.
Yes.
Which is very true. I mean, this is all extraordinary.
It is, and this has been bubbling up for a couple of weeks now, and I think pretty much everybody could see it was going to happen. We just didn't know when it was likely to explode. And for, I suppose, 48 hours of this week, nobody seemed to want to put their head above the parapet. So everybody wanted to come out and say, my candidate is the best one, but they weren't going to be the first one to lay down the gauntlet. So it's one of those sort of typical Westminster moments. Everybody knows something is going to happen. We just don't know when, and we don't know what it was entirely going to look like.
But what does that mean with Wes Streeting? Does he? I mean, do we take it that he said to the Prime Minister on Wednesday morning, I am, just to let you know, I'm going to resign and launch a leadership campaign tomorrow after the King's speech, and then the Thursday morning when they're doing the sums, he didn't have enough numbers?
Well, we don't know that.
Well, we don't know it, but come on.
We don't know whether he had the numbers. I mean, it could have been... There are three scenarios.
But why resign and not launch a leadership challenge?
Because he was going for Andy Burnham. So he was kick-starting the whole process off, which is what in fact happened. He's now free to go and campaign for Andy Burnham, but he's no longer in the government. And as far as the future goes, he's only 43. He's young enough to be Prime Minister in the future.
Come on. So he started this whole thing... he started the whole thing so he can campaign for Andy Burnham. I mean, Claire, do you buy that?
No, I don't. I really think that he didn't have the numbers. And it's the one thing when you have a large majority in government, you have different factions of a party, and he isn't universally liked across the parliamentary
That's the point.
party.
He couldn't. He knew he couldn't win in a head-to-head with the Prime Minister.
But you're trying to suggest that there was some little scheme going on. I think it is purely down to the numbers.
Well, I think it was a scheme. But I always like plotting.
But he could never win, could he? He's deemed as too right-wing.
Well, I think that
by the party.
He would have a struggle against. I mean, if Ed Miliband or Angela Rayner had stood with the party membership, they would have gone for them rather than
even against the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister would.
Yes, I mean the Prime. According to Labour list polling, and Labour list actually monitors the Labour Party membership. According to their polling, head-to-head with the Prime Minister meant that Wes Streeting would get 23%, the Prime Minister 53%. So no chance there.
But this is what I can't get my head around when you look at all of this. He's seen as too right-wing because he's a Blairite. Yeah. Tony Blair, the only Labour Prime Minister to win more than one election.
Yes, who didn't believe in right and left politics. I mean, the reason that Tony Blair was able to actually win was because he went for a third way where he was cherry-picking the best from right politics and the best from left politics. And so an example of that was tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, tough on crime, right-wing policy, causes of crime, left-wing policy.
But it does make me laugh that somebody in the Labour Party was considered to be too right-wing. And I've spoken to a couple of real left-leaning MPs in Parliament this week, and I said, oh, are you trying to say he's a champagne socialist? They said, no, he's basically a Tory, which I thought was quite a bold statement to make, because that would put him in the same category as me, and I think Wes Streeting and I are probably quite far apart when it comes to our political beliefs. But
he's a Blairite. I mean, he is definitely
but I don't put that down as right-wing. I just don't think that he's done enough work with the parliamentary party to be popular enough, and that's what it comes down to, if you're going to be popular. But this has been the problem with all of them, is that they've had their fans go out there and say, my candidate, whether it be Angela Rayner, whether it be Ed Miliband or Wes Streeting, saying these are the best people. And it's like, this is a large party. Are you suggesting that only 3 people can do the job? And we've seen them before, and some of them have been on the ballot paper before for leader and didn't get it then.
Well, some of them have been leader.
Indeed.
Where's the new talent in Labour?
Well, I think the new talent is learning how to be an MP at the moment. And it's the same with any party. You'll have years of people coming through the ranks.
They're apprentices at the moment because it's such a huge
work
intake
experience
in 24.
But come on, Nigel, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to give.
MPs, aren't there?
Well, there will be. I mean, I think Claire's right that it takes a while to learn the ropes in Parliament, and especially to learn how government works. When John Smith was Labour leader, he wouldn't put anybody onto the front bench unless they'd done 10 years as a backbench MP.
10 years, wow. Wow.
Quite a long time.
Whereas Keir Starmer's promoted a load of people who just came in 24.
Yeah.
What do we think is going on with Angela Rayner? Miraculous timing yesterday that she was cleared by HMRC. We're now hearing that she heard about this on Tuesday, but it was only made public yesterday. Do you think that she will put her hat in the ring, or is she waiting to answer the Andy Burnham question first?
I think she's probably struck a deal with Andy Burnham and she'll come back as a senior cabinet member. I don't think really she wants to take hold of the party, but the one thing is it's slightly impressive that she's got HMRC to work incredibly quickly on her case,
and she's
so maybe we should let her run the country,
which is
with no fines.
With no fines.
Yeah, I mean, OK, but they have cleared her, so...
Oh, yeah, they've cleared... But even so, if you...
come on.
They've cleared her by saying you've made a mistake, but you've not done it deliberately.
Yes, that's basically it.
But the rest of us would get fined for that, because you still hadn't paid the right amount of tax.
Well,
yes.
I mean, I appreciate some tax experts are saying that, but I mean, that's suggesting that HMRC are giving her preferential treatment, which seems to be your suggestion.
Well, I'm sorry, but they chase an awful lot of older people who have found themselves dragged into the taxation system that have to do a self-assessment tax return, find it very confusing because all they've got is their pension. They file late and they are fined automatically, even though this is somebody maybe for sort of a 50 quid miscalculation, not 40,000.
All right, Claire, Nigel, thank you very much for your company today.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, I could talk to you both all
So we're
morning,
talking to Richard
frankly.
Tice, remember?
Oh, yes, we are. He's going to be popping up in just a moment, actually. There's a lot of questions for Mr Tice and for reform when it comes to Makerfield. There will be a by-election now. We know that at some point. Who could they put up for it? And what are they going to throw at it?
Yeah, loads of rumours already circulating on that one. And Tom Harwood will have all the details from Downing Street.
Yes, also still to come, what on earth is going on in the building behind me? Are there more plots to block Andy Burnham, or might he be selected after all? Just how much longer does this Prime Minister have? Well, we'll get to it all after your European weather.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny skies for most of Portugal this weekend. Same goes for Sicily and Sardinia. A few showers likely in Croatia. Showers can't be completely ruled out in Madeira as well, with a fairly brisk and cool wind blowing here. Plenty of sunshine though around the Spanish costas. Sunny spells too for the Balearics, as I said, Sardinia and Sicily. Some heavy showers though in Croatia. They should be moving away though, so Dubrovnik looking sunnier on Sunday, and signs of things warming up a touch in Rome as we head into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We should be almost banned.
Do you really?
I really do, because and then you just let the listener or the viewer find their own a take on it and their own opinion about it.
Right.
I really don't like at Olympic Games. I really don't like the sort of cheerleading and showboating and the we this, we that, we the other.
So you're not the USA.
I'm sorry. No,
it's
it's Britain. Britain are third in the medals table. Not we are third in the medals table.
Right.
I think.
Okay. And how does everybody react to that? Is everybody, because I must admit, I do quite like the we thing.
I don't.
Okay. Tell me about favourite sporting events, because I'd imagine London 2012 must be the greatest thing you've been involved in, right?
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, I've been very lucky across, a whole load of things. I mean, one of my, you always remember the things, you always remember the first time, to be in the Olympics in Seoul in '88, and to see Ben Johnson win the 100 metres, and then the furore off the back of that when, with the possible exception of Lance Armstrong, the biggest drug scandal in the history of sport. I mean, that was an amazing
So were you covering that at the time, that race?
For BBC Radio, yeah.
So at what point did you know about this? Because now it's known as the dirtiest race of all time, isn't it? But at the time, this man had broken the world record. He was the greatest sprinter anybody had ever seen, and it was such a huge story.
The most amazing thing about it was, I can't remember how big the crowd was, but in my head it was like 90, 100,000.
Yeah.
And when he crossed the line and you saw on the electronic scoreboard what time he'd done, you've never heard 100,000 people be so quiet and then be so loud, because the reaction was just, that's not possible. A bit like, running under 2 hours for a marathon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, so we all thought this is just extraordinary and beyond belief.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Should we talk to Richard Tice?
I think we should.
He doesn't need much of an introduction, doesn't Richard Tice? Morning.
Very good morning to you. What a lovely day. And isn't it exciting? We've got a great by-election ahead of us.
I thought you'd be enjoying yourself, Richard, this morning. Look, there's very big questions around Makerfield. We already know, because Nigel said you're going to throw everything at it, but I would imagine including the kitchen sink. Big question here is, what about a candidate? You'll have seen, it's swirling all over the internet this morning. Maggie Oliver.
That we will have a great candidate. The selection panel are looking at a number of options as we speak, but we will, I'm absolutely sure, select someone who has the best chance and who will ultimately defeat Andy Burnham. And our simple campaign is vote reform, make Burnham history. And that's the point. We've essentially already replaced him as the King of the North with the fantastic results we got last week in the local elections, when we won whole councils all over the north, from Gateshead, Sunderland, and Barnsley, Wakefield, St Helens, and the like. So yeah, look, the north have already spoken, and isn't it great that we could defeat him in this by-election as and when it comes? That's a big question, the timing of that, but also then to win the mayoral contest for Greater Manchester.
Will you be asking the Tories to stand aside in Makerfield? So it's a two-horse race and you've got more chance of keeping Andy Burnham out?
Well, the Tories are irrelevant, frankly, north of about St Albans. So they'll do what they want to do. I mean, extraordinarily, yesterday, they decided to team up with the Open Borders pro sort of heroin Green Party. You know, vote Tory, get Polanski is the new slogan. So forget the Tories. It's a two-horse race, and we will take him on, and we will defeat him.
To be fair on that issue, Kemi Badenoch did suspend the Conservative councillor.
Yeah, well, I mean, how embarrassing.
Well, no comment from us on that one, but she did take action, so it's certainly not Tory policy when it comes to that. But the problem you've got is this isn't Reform versus Labour, is it? This is Reform versus Andy Burnham if he gets approval from the NEC, and it's Reform versus the man who would become the next Prime Minister.
Well, it won't, because our plan is to defeat him. I mean, this is a man who is in love with the European Union and, like Starmer, wants to drag us ever closer back to it, which is not what actually the voters of Makerfield want. They want, and they did want Brexit. They want Brexit done properly so that we're a proud, sovereign, independent nation. They want us to be more prosperous. They want cheap energy. They want to drill, baby, drill, to use our oil and gas treasure, which unbelievably, Red Ed Miliband now wants to legally ban. Well, you can be sure a Reform government and me as Secretary of State for Business, we will repeal that immediately. I mean, just the madness of what they're proposing in this King's speech just beggars belief.
Look, it's being briefed. It's in the papers this morning that Makerfield has been chosen intentionally, Josh Simons has been chosen intentionally to stand down in order for Andy Burnham to prove that he is the man to take the fight to reform, because it is a slim majority, isn't it? About 5,000 we're talking about here. Can he beat you? He is the most popular Labour figure in the country. He's done well in Manchester. He is a local man. He's popular there. Do you think he could do it?
No. It'll be close. We're in no way complacent. It'll be a hard-fought electoral battle, and we will throw everything at it in order to win with a great candidate. But the reverse is also true. That if we defeat him, when we defeat him, it will essentially prove that no one can, in the Labour Party, can beat reform, and that's our ambition. But ultimately, it's up to the good voters of Makerfield. I would just remind people, in the general election, almost 13,000 of them voted for our Reform candidate. And just last week, we won every single ward at a canter in the local elections in the Makerfield constituency.
Well, you've certainly got everything to play for, and you're brewing with confidence, Richard. No surprise there. Look, we've got to, I hate to do it, we've got to talk money. And I know when it comes to this £5 million gift to Nigel Farage, that it's now going to be investigated. Reform have said, you welcome that investigation. Let's get this all cleared up. Fair enough. But why then has Nigel Farage sort of changed tack on this, saying that this money was a reward for campaigning for Brexit, when previously he'd said it was money for protection because he was under threat? What was it for?
Well, the tragedy is that the reward that Nigel got for campaigning for Brexit for over 2 decades was that he became the most at-risk politician in the country, who should have had state paid for security. They refused over many years, and therefore, in a sense, he needed some help, and we're enormously grateful to the generosity of the person who gave the gift in order to keep Nigel safe and secure. And frankly, 5 million may not be enough. I spend a lot of time alongside Nigel. He has to have a very significant security detail, and that's just a sad fact of life. And as I say, it's shameful that the state refused to pay for it over many, many years. But there we are. You have to deal with the circumstances as we face them. We're confident we've complied with all of the rules and regulations. The Standards Commissioner will check that and form their own judgment. Okay. We crack on. But here's the key thing. Voters looked at this.
Just in 10 seconds.
They looked at this and they said they want more Nigel, more reform at the local elections last week. So I think
Richard
the people have
Tice, we're out
spoken.
of time with you. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. 3 lanes are restricted southbound on the A4042 due to maintenance work, possibly causing minor delays. A major incident on the A4042 northbound between New Inn and the A472 interchange is significantly affecting traffic flow, causing substantial delays. In Nottinghamshire, the A52 eastbound is closed between the A6011 and the A46 junction due to a severe collision. Normal conditions are expected by 12:50 today. And on the trains, there are no services between Pembroke Dock and Carmarthen on Transport for Wales, so travellers should plan alternative routes if necessary. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Well, the nation braces for a potential Labour leadership battle that could result in Britain's 6th Prime Minister in just 7 years.
Well, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham pins his hopes of returning to the heart of Westminster on a by-election in Makerfield. And Angela Rayner says the National Executive Committee shouldn't stand in his way.
Andy Burnham should never have been blocked. It was a mistake that the leadership of our party should put right.
And yet, might Andy Burnham still be blocked? I understand that the NEC will make its decision on either Sunday or Monday, and that decision will be on a knife edge. Many members of the NEC have not made up their minds.
Well, if he is allowed to stand and if he wins, Burnham's allies say he would immediately trigger a leadership contest for number 10.
But if he loses, it could be the end of his political career and risk Reform winning both in the by-election and the Manchester mayoralty. Just moments ago, we asked Reform's deputy leader Richard Tice who his party might put forward.
The selection panel are looking at a number of options as we speak, but we will, I'm absolutely sure, select someone who has the best chance and who will ultimately defeat Andy Burnham.
Well, Mr Burnham is willing, it would seem, to risk it all to go head-to-head with Sir Keir Starmer, but while Westminster plays politics, does that mean Britain is left to suffer?
Well, Andy Burnham is not the only one on manoeuvres. Wes Streeting quits as Health Secretary, but so far has failed to launch his own leadership bid, leading to speculation he may not have even had the numbers, while others predict he's in secret cahoots with the Burnham-Rayner camp. Well, Kemi Badenoch wasn't afraid to take the fight to Wes Streeting.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. The Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Another fresh one out there this morning. Through the day today, though, a bit more sunshine, not as many showers, and the winds will be a little bit lighter also. Join me later for a full forecast. We'll also have a peek at Saturday's weather.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So we're off. Sort of.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a mishmash at the moment because we're sort of saying the Labour leadership battle has begun. Well, it sort of has. In the Labour MP for Makerfield, Josh Simons has announced that he will stand aside so Andy Burnham can challenge Sir Keir Starmer. But there's a lot of ifs in that.
Yes. Lots of hurdles still to overcome. But this comes as Wes Streeting resigns as Health Secretary. In his resignation letter to Sir Keir Starmer, he said it is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election.
Right. So what does all this mean then for what's going on right now? Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood is in Downing Street. It's a very odd state of affairs, Tom, because you've got Andy Burnham saying he will challenge the Prime Minister if he's allowed to stand and if he wins in Makerfield, which is a lot to get through, whereas Wes Streeting's resigned but hasn't challenged the Prime Minister. So what's going on?
Yeah, it's really interesting to look at Wes Streeting's resignation letter that he published at around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It didn't actually declare his own candidacy in any future leadership election, but it did say there should be as broad a leadership election as possible. It dug into Keir Starmer's leadership and said that Keir Starmer had been forcing others to fall on their swords rather than taking the blame for his own wrong decisions. It was a scathing letter that many people thought might kick off a leadership contest in and of itself, but Wes Streeting has so far kept his powder dry on his own candidacy. Detractors of Wes Streeting have said that's because he can't get the 81 names to kick off this formal process, but there is another possibility here, which is what if Wes Streeting might make a deal with Andy Burnham? What if there could be a unity candidacy of Andy Burnham, and perhaps, rather than a contest or a competition, a coronation for the Mayor of Greater Manchester. But for that to happen, and I would stress that that's probably the best case scenario for the Labour Party, the scenario with the least bloodletting possible, where the party can sort of stay together as much as possible. For that to happen, Andy Burnham needs to clear a huge number of hurdles, not least making the shortlist to be selected for the seat of Makerfield, a seat that has become available precisely because the incumbent Member of Parliament has resigned to give it, in effect, to Andy Burnham. But that's not how our politics works. Andy Burnham needs to win that seat. Firstly, to win over the 9-member officer committee of the Labour Party NEC to make that shortlist, and then to win the seat in and of itself. Now, winning that seat might be fairly difficult because that seat has been in an area of the country that is rather reform-friendly. Reform won every single council seat in Wigan, that's the wider council area containing Makerfield, just on Thursday. And if there were a vote today, most polls would suggest that that would go Reform. However, the New Statesman and its Britain Elects project this morning has published a model, an electoral model that would suggest what they call the Burnham effect would make this seat much more competitive. They suggest that this seat could actually be within a couple of percentage points of one another, the Labour Party and the Reform Party, with the edge to Burnham if he does indeed stand in that seat. But as I say, the NEC has not yet decided if he can make the shortlist. I've been speaking to sources close to the National Executive Committee this morning who say that it's not going to make its decision until Sunday or Monday, and that decision is in fact on a knife edge, with many members of that committee not yet having made up their minds.
Where does this leave Angela Rayner and this HMRC? Do you think that she's waiting to see what happens with Andy Burnham? Because she's very popular with the parliamentary party, isn't she?
She's popular with the parliamentary party, with the membership of the Labour Party. She's seen as somewhat of a standard bearer for the soft left within the Labour Party, and particularly the union movement as well. And yet, again, she is someone who has kept her powder dry, didn't want to be first over the top. I think if there is a competitive process, then Angela Rayner will certainly be a candidate amongst that melee. However, what seems to be where all of the momentum is moving in the direction of Andy Burnham, I would not be surprised if some sort of deal is cut between Angela Rayner and Andy Burnham. After all, earlier this week, she made a strong intervention on behalf of Andy Burnham, saying he should never have been blocked for the Gorton and Denton by-election. Could it be that Angela Rayner cuts a deal with the Mayor of Greater Manchester? Might it actually be the case that the Mayor of Greater Manchester stands his greatest chance of being not only elected in Gorton and Denton, but also selected for Gorton and Denton by the NEC if he cuts these deals with other figures in the Labour Party? Quite possibly.
Makerfield. But I mean, this is very much the Labour Party putting all their eggs in one basket, isn't it, Tom? And if it fails in Makerfield, then what they're left with is scrabbling around for second best.
That's certainly true. I mean, looking at what things are, the Makerfield election will be on a knife edge. As I referenced that Britain Elects electoral model a little bit earlier in this conversation, it suggests that that the Labour Party might be actually sort of 2 or 3 points ahead of Reform, accounting for the Burnham factor, accounting for his popularity in the region. So if he does lose, that will be a big blow for the Labour Party. It would seem that if Andy Burnham can't defeat Reform in a seat like Makerfield, no one can, and that would put the cat amongst the pigeons within the Labour Party. No doubt we would see the sort of psychodrama we've seen over the last 5 days, but to a greater extent. More resignations, more MPs calling for Starmer to go, and almost certainly a competitive process to replace him. Would Wes Streeting throw his hat in the ring? Quite possibly. Would Angela Rayner? Almost certainly. Could Ed Miliband? Quite probably. And then you would have a competitive process of bloodletting and chaos. This would perhaps be the nightmare scenario for the Labour Party.
And this is the government that promised us that their politics would tread lightly on our lives. Thank you very much.
Oh dear. Right, let's take a break from that and try and cheer you up with it might be a summer of chaos, but it could also be a sensational summer for you if you win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. Cold, hard tax-free cash.
Yeah, you can spend it on anything you like. It's the countdown to summer. Here are all of the details that you need.
£76,543 and 21p in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So, what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21p in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, the Housing Secretary Steve Reed will be here next, so do stay tuned for that.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless.
I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Just coming up to 15 minutes past 9. Let's speak to GB News' national reporter Sophie Reaper, who joins us now from Makerfield. And Makerfield, which is set to become the political capital of this country, Sophie.
It is indeed. Good morning to you both once again. It's a really interesting one, actually, because as promised, I've been speaking to people here in Makerfield this morning, trying to gauge what their feelings are, not only about their MP Josh Simon stepping down to make way perhaps for Andy Burnham, but whether or not they feel Andy Burnham would actually even get in. Of course, he's still yet to be approved as a candidate here in Makerfield, but also we know that for Labour in Wigan in recent weeks and months, they've had a bit of an abysmal showing. At the local elections last week, 25 seats were up for grabs and Labour lost every single one of them. Reform taking 24 out of 25. So that's what people on the ground have kind of been saying to me. Although I will admit it's been a bit of a mixed bag. One chap even drove past shouting out of his car window, "There's only one Andy Burnham." One man saying to me that he feels that Andy Burnham would be the best bet perhaps for the Labour Party, that Starmer may be a bit tarnished in terms of his reputation and that Burnham could usher in a new fresh age for the Labour Party. However, on the flip side of that, few people already saying to me this morning that under no circumstances would they be supporting Andy Burnham if he were the candidate for Labour here in Makerfield. Instead, they were throwing their support behind the Reform Party. So very, very interesting this morning here in the constituency, hearing what people have to say. Of course, we know that this has been a historically very safe seat for Labour. In fact, it's always been a seat for Labour since it became a constituency in 1983. And I have to say, Ellie and Stephen, just while I've been speaking to you, there's two ladies in front of me here this morning. Good morning, ladies. And one of them has actually just pulled out a sign to say, "I'm voting Reform UK." So that gives you a sense of the mood here on the ground. People already have their political signage ready to roll here in Makerfield. They're ready for this by-election, ready to see people go to the polls. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Certainly is. And I guess part of it, and perhaps more than normal, Sophie, is going to depend on who Reform pick as a candidate. Because if it can get a personality, as someone's locally significant, then that changes the game all over again.
Absolutely, and I think what's really interesting is if we take a look at the most recent by-election in the country, but also once again here in Greater Manchester, in Gorton and Denton, Reform didn't actually perform as well as they maybe hoped, and instead it was the Green Party candidate that got in. So that's one side of the story, but then, as I'm saying, in the local elections, it was a completely different ball game for Reform. They absolutely went above and beyond, I think, Nigel Farage's wildest dreams, and yes, you're absolutely right, Stephen, if they're able to pick a candidate who's got that je ne sais quoi, I think that it could be a very close contest here in Makerfield.
There in Makerfield, thank you very much.
All right, should we talk to the government? Because Housing Secretary Steve Reed is standing by. Really good to see you this morning. Look, can I ask you a personal question?
Good morning.
Steve. Forget what's actually going to happen, because I know you don't know what the NEC is going to decide, but in your view, from your personal perspective, should Andy Burnham be allowed to stand in Makerfield?
Yes, but as you say, it's not in my gift, but I think he should, yes.
OK, but do you think it's likely to happen? Because, I mean, what we're hearing is it's on a knife edge at the moment, and if he was blocked, I mean, it looks very bad for the Prime Minister, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I don't know what will happen. I'm not on the NEC, and I don't. The NEC being Labour's governing executive committee, they take the decisions about somebody who wants to stand down from an existing job if they want to run for a different job in politics, as Andy wants to do. So they have to give permission for that because it would trigger a by-election. But I don't, to be honest, know most of the people on the NEC, so I can't tell you what they will do. But my judgment is the Prime Minister said the same thing. To be fair to him, is that Andy should be allowed to stand to be the candidate in the by-election in Makerfield, but it would be none of us that take that decision in the end. It would be Labour Party members in Makerfield who choose their own candidate, and then they go forward for an election where the public will choose who they want to be their next MP.
The Prime Minister is the most unpopular Prime Minister on record, and last week's local election results were historically bad for your party. Is Andy Burnham the answer to Labour's problems?
Well, do you know, each of the last 4 prime ministers in turn has been the most unpopular prime minister on record. And after that many, I think you have to take a view that what's going on is that the prime minister of the day crystallises the public's frustration at the state of our economy, the state of our high streets and the state of our public services. So the way to fix it is to make sure that we deliver the change the public wants to see. So more money in people's pockets. And what do we see yesterday? Figures that show our economy is growing faster in the UK for the first quarter of this year than in any of the other 7 biggest economies on the planet. That means next week the Chancellor can stand up in Parliament behind me and announce more support for families and businesses that are really struggling right now. We have to focus on that. We saw from the Conservatives, if you just keep chopping and changing the Prime Minister, it doesn't actually solve the problems that are making them unpopular. We've got to get the economy and public services fixed so that they work for the British people.
Look, I really appreciate you answering that first question so directly, because you know it's unusual for politicians. So what about timings of this?
Because I try to be direct in my answers.
That's good. That's good, and we appreciate it. What about timings of this? Because potentially the Chief Whip could hold off this by-election for 5 or 6 months if they wanted to, perhaps till after recess. What do you think should be the timing of this? Do we need to get this started, get this done before recess?
Well, I mean, my view is always that when there are by-elections, they're best done as quickly as possible, because the people in Makerfield are not being represented in Parliament for the whole time that we wait. Their sitting MP, Josh Simons, has stood down, so he can't come here and speak for them anymore. And it's important that they have a voice just like everybody else in the country. So my preference would be for a timetable as fast as it can be done.
Can I ask what your personal reaction was to Wes Streeting's resignation letter yesterday? Because it was a brutal assessment, wasn't it, of the Prime Minister, talking about a vacuum, a lack of vision, that winter fuel cut, that was a mistake, that the Islands of Strangers speech, that was a mistake. Did you agree with a lot of the content of that letter?
Well, I'm going to be frank with you again here. I had quite mixed emotions. First of all, I felt very sad that Wes had decided to stand down. I've known Wes personally since before both of us were members of Parliament. I think he is an incredibly talented individual and a politician who makes a really big impact. We saw that in the figures yesterday that showed the biggest fall in NHS waiting lists for 18 years. So I'm sorry that Wes decided to walk away when he and the government were delivering a big change like that. But then when I look at the detail of his letter, I'm afraid I don't agree with what he said, despite him being a friend. When he said, where's the vision? Well, the vision was our manifesto we were elected on, to cut NHS waiting lists, one of our key pledges. The delivery, we saw yesterday, the biggest fall in NHS waiting lists for 18 years. That's before the entire period of Conservative government. Now, if you promise a thing and then are shown to be delivering that thing, surely you should keep on going, not walk away.
Yeah, but it's interesting though, isn't it? Because when you look at the achievements of this government over the past 2 years, it's always things. The NHS is what you guys always mention. He's the one who's delivered.
Well, he didn't do it on his own. Of course, the Chancellor gave him more money to spend than any health secretary in history has had to spend. And that was possible because of the way that we've stabilised the economy after Liz Truss so famously crashed it. But, you know, we just saw those figures yesterday, didn't we? In the first quarter of this year, the first 3 months of this year, the economy in this country grew faster than any of the other 7 biggest economies in the world. That means more money in people's pockets, more money to invest in public services. And next week, the Chancellor will stand up and announce more support for families.
Forgive me for interrupting.
So it's not just the what I'm saying here is it's not just the NHS, it's also the economy.
But forgive me, but I mean, the point is, and you're quite right, you know, the economic figures are looking better at the moment, and that is all being overshadowed by this absolute instability at the top. And the Prime Minister says he wants to avoid chaos. Well, we've already got chaos. We are in this situation now, whichever way you look at it points to maybe not a lack of leadership, depends on how you view it, but not the right sort of leadership here.
Well, you're right to point to the chaos of the last week, because it has been. I mean, I feel really upset when I speak to members of the public and think how the public are feeling as they look on and see the Labour Party starting to turn in on itself. We need to take a breath this weekend. We need to step back from that brink and remember that we were elected because we promised to put country first, party second. And that is the right way round. We have to keep the drive to grow the economy because that's how we put more money in people's pockets and tackle the cost of living crisis. I've talked about the NHS waiting lists already, but here's another one. In the first year of this government, we built more new council homes than in any year for the previous 35 years, and that's helping to solve the housing crisis. We can't turn away from the priorities of the British public to talk to each other. That would be chaotic, and we shouldn't do that. We mustn't
do that. Just on that, before we run out of time, do you think the people of Makerfield will think that you are putting, or their Labour candidate, their Labour MP, is putting their interests first ahead of the party's when they're being used as a political pawn over the leadership battle?
Well, we'll see what happens in the by-election when it comes. You know, I'm always quite careful never to try and predict election results because I've got it wrong so many times before. It'll be up to the good people of that constituency to take their own decision when the time comes. But I know that the Labour Party puts itself in the best possible position when it shows it's focused on the priorities of the British people, not repeating the mistakes of the Conservatives with a revolving door of chaos. This is a weekend where we can take a breath, step back and make sure we keep driving the change the British people sent me and my colleagues here to make happen.
All right, Housing Secretary Steve Reed, thank you so much for joining us on GB News Breakfast.
Thank you.
Well, coming up at 9:30, Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates. Morning, you two.
Good morning.
What a week. What a day.
Well, everything's changed and nothing's changed. Keir Starmer's still the Prime Minister. Will that change during our show?
Plenty of discussions to take place on that. Lots of other news as well. All that coming up after your weather.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M8 eastbound at Junction 20, access to Bothwell is blocked due to emergency roadworks. The A4042 northbound is blocked from New Inn to the A472 interchange by an ongoing incident. In Nottinghamshire, all lanes on the A52 eastbound are closed following a collision, with normal conditions expected shortly after 1:45 this afternoon. In Surrey, one lane on the A3 northbound is closed due to a collision, causing 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Southeastern reports disruption between Hastings and Tunbridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9:30 on Friday, the 15th of May. Live across the United Kingdom, this is Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Well, Andy Burnham has made his big move. Makerfield MP Josh Simons steps aside as Andy Burnham swoops in to run for the seat and number 10.
But some huge hurdles in Andy Burnham's way. Firstly, can he get past the Labour Party NEC that blocked him before? And secondly, can he win a seat in a reform-friendly part of the country?
Reform have responded. Nigel Farage declares his party will throw absolutely everything at the by-election. Richard Tice MP went even further on GB News this morning.
Our ambition is to ensure that Andy Burnham is thrown out completely. So we want to defeat him in the constituency. He will have had to resign as Mayor of Greater Manchester, and then we will win.
Fleeting Streeting, the now former Health Secretary Wes Streeting, told the PM he's lost confidence in him, but he didn't challenge his leadership as he's quit the government.
I think having a leadership election would be the wrong choice for us to take.
Well, there is a new Health Secretary. We'll fill you in on James Murray, the man who will fill the boots of Wes Streeting.
In fact, in almost all of our seats right across the country, whether they're target or non-target, the Green Party vote share is rising.
And find out why the Green Party leader, Zach Polanski, didn't register to vote for the local elections this month.
And it's a major weekend of protests in the capital. 4,000 police officers will be deployed to London town to oversee a pro-Palestine march and Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally and the small matter of the FA Cup final.
Elsewhere, the US president's been on a charm offensive in China. President Donald Trump heads back to Washington now after he and President Xi discussed the Middle East conflict.
We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. And we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Isn't it like Beckham? Sir David has become the first billionaire sportsman in the Sunday Times